Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. We're going to kick it off as we always do with what we've been playing. I will say this week, as I looked over it, I've watched more movies than I played games in the last 2 weeks.
Watched a lot of stuff.
I watched and saw a lot of things. So, but I will kick it off with something new. Off of Matt's recommendation, I started Dave the Diver. I am playing it on PS5. I'm probably put 5 hours into it now. The best part, the thing that's really cool, and this is something that you probably don't have on the PC version, is it has the haptics for the PlayStation controller.
Oh yeah,
and that works really well for the game. So, like, you can, it kind of has like pressure sensitivity when you're shooting the hook gun in the ocean and stuff like that. But it's exactly like you described. Like, I like how it gives you enough of like a carrot on a stick to keep going. It's like, okay, you do this dive, now you find this new thing. Now all of a sudden it's like, hey, this other person rolls up with their boat. There might be this ancient civilization down there. You should look for these trophy things. Like, it just, and it keeps going, to different people.
Like, really well. Like, I think that was the biggest thing for me is the pacing of the game. Like, it just, when I felt like it was going to become stagnant and I was like, maybe I have to do this for a little while, like, just something new happened. And I was like, oh, okay. So, like, the more and more you get into it,
and I love the restaurant aspect of it at night, where you're literally. I didn't realize this. Maybe you said it. I don't remember, but I didn't realize you're also the server.
Oh yeah.
so like when you get to the restaurant part of it, it's you literally have the guy that makes the sushi, and then you're running it out to tables.
Yeah.
And then you'll have like somebody might come up with, I want a cup of green tea, and you got to pour it. And even though there's like a line where you're supposed to stop, like I've filled it above that and it's been fine. So
yeah,
I think if you were to overfill it, you probably get penalized or something. But
the one that does the worst is the beer.
Okay. I haven't gotten that yet.
So when you get to that point, you have to aim it at the cup in the right way, because like, even though it's filling up, once the foam hits that line, it stops. So like, you could be at the very top, but you could have like that much foam in your cup, and then technically it's not a good drink, so they're unhappy with that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like it's good. Like, and it opens up. You get to hire like more people because it gets.
I mean, it's already getting kind of nuts where I have to sprint to these different, parts of that bar, and then I'm like, boy, it really seems like I might get to a point where someone needs to be hired. Mm-hmm. So, but it's been a lot of fun. So I look forward to playing more of it. But I've played about 4 or 5 hours of it thus far. But it seems really good. The other big thing that I guess this is more recent because the update just came out, but I did check in on that Starfield update for the Xbox, the big 60 frames patch. I mean, there's actually a multitude of options. So it's not just 60 frames. If you have a TV with variable refresh rate, you can lock it to the TV's refresh rate, so that'll be even smoother. It does have a 40 frames mode, which they've done that with some of the PlayStation games.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I will say the little bit I played, because whatever mission I was in the middle of, I was like, I'll just finish this mission and see how it shakes out. But it plays a lot better, a lot smoother. Because of the mission I'm on, I did not have a chance yet to look at like the planet map, because that was the other big thing that they updated. Is it actually has real maps now, not that weird.
Yeah,
like what they had.
Terrible.
But I'm in a base, so it doesn't really have. I couldn't test that yet. So, but I will say the little bit that I tried of it really feels like the game that should have been where it was, in September.
Yeah.
So I think they made a decision where we cannot let this game sit any longer. We have to get it out. So, because I mean, what would people? I mean, well, we'll get into the news, but what would have people said at that point? Other than that, I've tried to get myself into Dragon's Dogma. This last 2 weeks on PC. That game. They have put out some more patches for it, so there are parts of it now that are running, at least for me, are running smoother. But the main big hub city is a nightmare. Like, it's sub 20 frames.
Ugh.
And this is on me on one of those fancy high refresh rate monitors with it, unlocked or whatever. It's the city. It's very CPU bound.
Yeah.
But what I really like about that game and the reason that I keep coming back to it, because I'm about like the 10-hour mark, is how different it is from the other games. It doesn't hold your hand like to where you really need to go. It's more of like, hey, here's a quest. It's in this general area. Go look in that general area and see what's going on. There's a lot of just exploration and like, oh, here's this cave. I have my character. I have 2 pawns that I downloaded because that's how that game works. And then there's one other character that's with me for story reasons. So my party has like 4 people. And I just, as I was navigating to one of those areas, we just came across some big giant Cyclops monster.
Sure, yeah.
And that was a huge battle that we did it. We took it down, but it took a while. It was challenging. My one and only real complaint with the game, and I had to look it up because I thought maybe I was just missing it, but there is no way to lock onto an enemy like you can in like a Dark Souls or something. There's no option. Because I had to Google it because I'm like, am I crazy? Like, it just seems I'm just wildly wielding my sword, and it's not. It's not like it's not Dark Souls hard, so it's not like at that level, but it's the kind of game where it really would benefit if you could lock onto an enemy. So that part of it is a little weird, but I want to get more into it. It's just that game. It's I only have it on computer, so depends on when I want to spend the time sitting at my computer desk playing it, and that's not something I always want to do after an 8-hour workday.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, the last thing I'll throw on here, I've played some more House Flipper and / Supermarket Simulator, which I've opened it up even more. But I will say I'm at the point now where in order for me to unlock the last person I can hire to do checkout, I have to because the way it works, you have to hit a certain number of people you've checked out. So I think it's like 2,000 checkouts or something like that. I'm close to it. But it is to the point where if I don't get like the way the game's open, the way I have my supermarket set up, because I've reset it yet again since the last time we talked. The way it is set up, it will actually get so busy now that if I don't go on my lane, people will leave because there's not enough people checking out. They're just like, fuck it, I'm out. So I have to get on the lane and check people out. And there are a lot of people that go in there. So that is another game that your frame rate can tank because of the amount of people that are just rushing into the store, doing all sorts of crazy shit. I give it a pass though, because of how ridiculous the game is in terms of like, you're literally putting this shit wherever you want it in this space. As long as it fits like within the lines, it doesn't matter. So amazing game. And House Flipper too, I've said before, but like I'll continue to say it's just a way more polished version of the original game. So very, very highly recommended. I mean, for you, Dan, I know you're a big power wash simulator guy. Yeah. I would say put it on your wish list, wait for a sale on the PlayStation, because I think you would enjoy it.
Oh, so, I know. I played a little bit of the first one.
This one is better.
Xbox for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that wraps up what I've been playing. Because I will have a lot more to say when we talk about movies than I will games. Mm-hmm. So I will kick it over to you, Dan.
So I guess quickly, speaking of Power Wash, I started playing the PS5 version of it just to get to go back into it, because why not? I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but I finally did platinum the PS4 one. Doing those like time trial things.
Does it look or play different, like between the versions?
No, it's the same game. I just playing it again because why not? And plus, I got like excited for it because they had that news come out where they put out that roadmap for it.
Yeah,
where there's going to be more free DLCs, more paid DLCs. They haven't said what they are, but it's like the whole rest of the year, there's just going to be a ton more content. It's
been very successful.
Yeah,
the only DLC I haven't tried is the Warhammer one, which I want to play.
The SpongeBob one yet? I'm just waiting for it to go on sale. But
you've done the Warhammer one?
Yeah, I did that one. Okay. That one's good. The final thing in that, it takes forever, which is good. But yeah, I'm excited to see what else there is. It's funny because like I was thinking, oh, maybe they should just make it 2, and then you realize they really don't have to. They just have to keep making packs. Packs is
for now, until it gets to a point where
until they can figure out something else to do with it, I guess.
Or they get so ambitious with it that it needs a engine update or something
else has to change, right? But for now, it's fine. Other than that, the main thing I played was everybody's favorite game, Forspoken. I decided how I'm going to break this up is to just kind of like play until the next boss each time I do it, because last time we talked, I decided I'm going to skip all the side stuff for now because I really I could care so little about this. So since the last time, I had to go back to the castle and talk to everybody. They introduced a dancing mini game because of course they did. Has
anything about it improved?
No,
since the last
it just keeps getting worse. It's so bad. The dancing mini game is like child's play. It's like press the button that comes up on the screen and they give you like 10 seconds.
Okay.
It's so dumb. The tone of it is still all over the place where I'm so sad. Oh, I just killed somebody. Oh, fuck you. Like it's so all over the place all the time. But anyway, so I went to the next boss like zone and I just ran straight for it. I didn't care. Skipped everything I could. Hey, and what do you know? This boss is like water based. And at first you get like put on trial because you killed the last boss. And then they decide that your trial is to throw you in this giant pit underwater and do
Did the first boss have like some sort of element to it?
Fire.
Okay.
Like you have like rock powers, and then there's fire powers, water powers. I'm assuming the next one's electric. And then I don't know what the last one, who knows. But so you have to basically just do like a gauntlet thing where they just throw tons of enemies at you. And now now that I have the fire powers, I will say that the fire powers are more enjoyable for me because it finally adds a melee attack because it gives you a sword. So you can just kind of run up and hack with swords and stuff like that. And it makes the game go kind of faster because I'm not having to like shoot stuff with my powers. If you finish like off like the little gauntlet thing where they just keep throwing higher stuff at you. Yeah, not hard. Didn't even get close to dying. And then you have to fight the boss, which is like the water lady. And she throws water at you and she makes water bombs explode. Her fight's a joke. It took less time than the last boss fight did. Yeah. At one point, the game tries to like introduce a new element where like you flip upside down at one point.
Okay. So
you like go up to the ceiling, but then they give up on that after like a minute and you just go up above it and you have to like swim around. That's all.
Okay.
So I killed her.
How more of the fairy cats have you found?
None, because I have skipped all that so far. If I want to when I go for the platinum, I'll have to go do those. But I figure the only thing I'm doing on the way to the boss is unlocking the fast travel points, so that I can go back later and just kind of clean up what I have to clean up. Because I figured by the time I'm done and I have all the magic, I should theoretically be stronger. So everything else should be easier to just kind of rush through.
What is the percentage of people that have platinumed the game?
Oh, God, I don't even know. I haven't looked it up.
You never looked at it?
No,
I would love to know.
It's got to be real low.
I can't imagine. Like, we know that it didn't sell very well, but it is constantly at that like $20 mark.
Percentages of games are weird though because it only counts, people who have at least played it and gotten a trophy.
Yeah.
So not that many people bought it. How many people went for it?
But how far do you have to get into the game before you unlock like a trophy?
Pretty quick. You have to get basically from New York into the other world. I was
gonna say I could see somebody if it's like an hour or something. I could see somebody picking up and be like, I don't like this.
No, because you don't really get. I think you get one when the game finally starts going.
Okay.
Because there's chapter progression toward trophies. But and then of course after I kill her. I get the story dump of you have no idea what you're doing, all that kind of stuff. And then they don't even try to hide it anymore. We're clearly like one of these chicks, probably the last one, is my mom. Like,
that's okay.
Which is why I have powers, which is why the bracelet took me here, which is why they don't even try to hide it. But the thing is they're so like overt about it. Basically telling you it's your mom and your character doesn't understand. What do you mean? I don't understand. It's like, yeah, come on. This is like one of the most heavy-handed things I've ever seen. But then like, you go back to I think this happened before, but like, of course, the town gets attacked again. A ton of other people die in this town again. It's just like a cycle of stuff that's going on. It's such a bad game.
It just sounds like a bunch of story nonsense.
It's just boring story, boring like gameplay. Traversal is the only thing about it. It's good. I now have like a surfboard because I have water power, so I can like run across a lake, but it turns into a surfboard. All right, fine. But at least like I can run across water now. So traversal stuff is fine. I still clearly don't have all of it because there's places I can't get to because they do that archaic thing of locking it out by this ledge is just too high for you to be able to go to this area yet until you have the power from the person before. I don't know. I'll get to the next boss by the time we play it.
Do you think with obviously the studio that made this is gone? But the Luminous engine, do you think that was now you've obviously played 2 games in the Luminous engine, the 2-hit games. Do you think that was a viable engine, or do you think it was right for them to abandon it at this point?
I think it works well in 15. I never had a problem with 15. The problem I had with 15 was in the beginning.
15 was too ambitious for the time it was released for those systems.
Yes, it was not done yet. Mm-hmm. When they finally put out like the Royal Edition with all of the patches and the updates and the content and they fix the story, it's almost a different game at that point.
Yeah.
And it works very well and it's good. This game is I'm trying to think of an example, but it would be like think of like a popular game that's good, and then the thing that I make something, and that's
the thing that I first think of as a recent example is the re-engine, all the different games that have used that, and then the most recent being Dragon's Dogma, where it's like, okay, maybe an open world game doesn't work in this type of engine because that's the first game that pushed that kind of thing.
I blame the Forspoken game more than I blame that. Because Final Fantasy 15 is open world. Final Fantasy 15 has enemies running around. Final Fantasy 15 has action-based combat where I have to push a button to do something, and the game works.
You can fly that car later on.
Well, that's a fucking shit show in that game.
It is, but I mean, that was the thing they put in that game, which again, pretty ambitious for that time. So
it's pretty crazy because they don't give it to you until the end of the game, so it's useless. No. And the only thing it's really quote unquote required for is to get to the hidden dungeon in the game, which is there's not even a trophy tied to that. So whatever. And that dungeon is
they didn't even add one with like the Royal Edition or like
the Royal Edition added more content to like other areas. Where like you get a boat and you get to go out on the boat.
That's cool.
Do stuff, which is kind of fun, but it just padded that part of the game where you go to that other town where you fight Leviathan and stuff. But yeah, that flying car thing, the only thing it was good for was getting to that dungeon, and landing that thing was so bad. Every time I tried to land it, like the first 5 times I'd crash until I finally got it. Because it's such a narrow window where it's like you have to go over this rock and you have like a short thing of road you have to land on. And if you miss, the car just explodes and you have to it's so dumb. Yeah, Forspoken is hot garbage, but we press on.
No one should play it.
Yeah, we press
but you'll continue to suffer.
Yes. Other big thing I played, I finally played that Ghostbusters game. The one made by Elphonic. I forget what it's called. Sanctum Slime, is that it?
So it's the same people that have been making all the
Predator,
non-Dead by Daylight. Yeah,
they're going to make Killer Clowns.
That's out soon, like next week, I think.
But, this game rules.
Okay,
I'm shocked at how good of a Ghostbusters game it is. Not to say that we haven't had good Ghostbusters games, because the 360
2009 one was amazing,
phenomenal. Yeah, this continues that on, and it's so good. And playing
for whatever reason, when you said you were playing it, I got it confused with the VR one.
No, it's not that one, and it's not that one that was like the arcade title. It's the other one.
I remember that one. So how does this one work?
Spirits Unleashed.
Okay. How does this one work?
It's 4v1 multiplayer stuff. So basically, you make your own Ghostbuster, and you have a lot of customization problems or parts and stuff you can use, and you team up to go on missions and stuff. You can play by yourself against bots. Bots in this game are actually
that's smart.
Good. We've seen bots because I played with 2 other friends, so it's 3 of us in a bot.
Yeah,
I have seen bots capture a ghost by themselves.
That's cool.
Which is crazy. Like you wouldn't think that would ever happen in a game like this, but it does.
All right.
It looks good because it's almost cartoony, but not really.
Okay.
And it sounds good. The music's good. Ernie Hudson's in it. Dan Aykroyd's in it. They're actually like in the game.
Okay. I figured Bill Murray probably be the one to hold out.
He took a pass.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, we were playing it just kind of like, we're just going to get the platinum and go through it. But as we played it, and like, so basically you want a mission, and it's like the museum or the jail or the subway or whatever, and you're hunting down a ghost, and there are like minion ghosts that are around, but essentially you're trying to capture this one specific ghost. But there's other things you have to do first, like shut down these like portals, because if you try to capture it, it can escape through a portal in the room, but you can blow up the portal first. There's tons of other like side things to do for XP where you take on like contracts and stuff with like break this amount of shit or collect. Every level has like mushrooms you can collect and bring them back. There's something about this game. It's so good. It plays so well. You get different gadgets and stuff, so you can have someone be like, "I'll stun the ghost." You trap the ghost. You can level up your gear so it's better. You can make your gear look different. You can make your gear do different things.
Have you played a match online with somebody playing as the ghost?
No.
You've only done bot stuff? We've
only done bot stuff because we're just trying to get through one of the achievements is get to level 100.
Okay. I'll say as far as Ilphonic goes, like I played a lot of the Friday the 13th game, and they seem like a studio that when they tackle one of these properties, they really love, like they put a lot of love and attention to the property.
It feels like Ghostbusters.
Gives me a little hope for Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but if they put bots in that game, that would have me more interested to try it.
Just play it against a computer.
That would have me more interested because again, those games live and die otherwise on their online community. Which Friday the 13th actually had a pretty decent one for a while, but then Dead by Daylight overtook it. So
I did play. So after a while of like leveling up, you can unlock the ability to play as the ghost against Ghostbusters.
That's cool.
So and then the ghosts, like you can attack them, slime them, go through the portals, all that kind of stuff. You can haunt objects and make them jump around so that they think you're possessing them. You can actually possess objects and jump around. Like you can become like a vending machine and walk around as a vending machine. It's dumb as hell.
Okay.
But that part's fun too. And like you unlock other ghosts you can level up. It's a really fun. I think we got it for like $15, not even.
That's not bad.
For the fact that I can play against the computer, because the ghost I did by myself against like 4 computer Ghostbusters, and it was probably easier than it would be against playing people, but it was still fun, and it was still like an interesting kind of mechanics for the ghost versus the Ghostbusters. You can scare. Basically, how it works too is like when you're in a level, there's kind of a timer going, but it's not.
Okay.
There's not an actual like time. It's like how much the ghost haunts the place. So as a ghost, you can scare people that are in the building. If you scare them enough, they'll run out, and that'll raise like the meter. If you're a Ghostbuster, you can run up to them and like calm. There's like a mini game to like, hey, calm down, sir. And get them to stay.
That's good. That's good.
You know, you can break stuff and like everything explodes, and it does that thing where it counts how much damage you do. Really, really fun game, and it's really fun to play with other people. And it does have me kind of excited for Killer Clown just because.
Yeah, like I said, like I kind of wrote that game off only because of my feelings on like, well, there's too many of these, you know, we're taking this property that everybody, like this horror property everybody loves, but we're going to try and make a multiplayer game out of it, ignoring the fact that Dead by Daylight's still going. And that's where that crowd of people that like this type of game are going to stay. Mm-hmm. So that game, I didn't realize that game is in its 8th year.
You know what they're doing with that game too? Did you see the new thing?
I saw the Castlevania thing.
Well, there's that. They're doubling the player count.
Oh, really? I didn't see that part of it.
They're going to make it 8v2.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is a cool thing to do for that game because that game does have enough people playing it, but there's going to be like 2 killers and there's going to be 8 people.
I have nothing against that game. It's just my thing about it is I look at it and go, okay, it's been out for 8 years. There's no way I could get into that now.
They're going to add new mechanics to it too, where instead of just being able to put people on the hooks, you can like put them in cages and stuff.
Okay.
They're kind of reworking that game for, I guess, like maybe 2.0. You would.
Well,
think
there's also that
trying to get more people, get people like us who haven't played it,
right?
Give
you a reason to get in now and
exactly
change.
Well, I mean, and that's my other issue. The game, it has so much DLC and the characters and stuff that I would be interested in.
Well,
that's the hard part.
The problem with that game with the DLC stuff is it comes and goes because they lose licenses.
Some of them they lose a license, like Stranger Things was a big one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also interested. The other thing, because I know they put out, I didn't watch in the trailers, but their single player game that has that awful name. Was it the casting of Frank Stone or something?
Yeah.
Terrible name, but it looks cool.
It's made by Supermassive, so it's got.
I'm sure it will be a decent game. It's just the name is atrocious.
Yeah. It should have been short. It should have been Dead by Daylight in the subtitle.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ghostbusters really good, especially if you've got friends. Wishlist it, and it'll go cheap again, I'm sure. But
I should look and see how much Killer Clowns is. If that's a full price game, or if that's.
I don't think I looked.
I can't imagine that's a full price game.
It's got to be probably like 40 or 50.
But
right.
But again, and the problem is I've been burned on some of those other ones, like Friday the 13th. Obviously, that was a success. I played that for a while until obviously they lost license. That ended.
Well, and some of these other ones seem to get Texas Chainsaw had a thing for a while, but it didn't seem popular anymore.
No, it seems like that's kind of died out. Evil Dead I liked, but that died after a month.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because the game was pretty good.
Is where it's at right.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's acceptable.
That's the right price for these kinds of games.
And I love that. I mean, that's a great movie. So, that's a classic.
Fucking dumb and weird.
I was so excited when they announced it until I saw what it was, and then I was like, "Oh, it's another one of these." But now that you're saying that, I mean, and I'll look into it. I mean, I don't know if it has bots or not, but if it does, that's promising, and that's a smart way to make these games going forward.
Because then you can just play it as a game.
Yeah.
Because
exactly,
this Ghostbusters game works incredibly well.
Okay.
And then the last thing I played, this is just real quick, just because I just kind of started it a couple days ago. I'm playing Rogue Galaxy, the PS2 game.
PS2
on, PS5 at this point, but I love that game. I never finished it back in the PS2 days.
I never played it when it came out. So
I stopped.
I have it
because
it's pretty long, isn't it?
It's very long, and there's a lot of systems in it in terms of upgrading weapons, where you level up weapons and merge them together, and level them up and merge them together to get special ones and stuff. It's a very, very good RPG though. It plays, the closest thing you would equate it to would be like a Tales game.
Okay.
Because you're actually pressing a button to attack.
Yeah. And
then you have a secondary attack, which is a gun. You can also jump during battle, and that is important sometimes because you have to jump and land on things. It's Tales in this, it's not a 2D Tales where it's side to side fighting. It's like a little arena kind of a thing.
Okay.
But very good story. Very cool, upgrade system.
It was one that came out after the 360 was out, right?
It was probably around the time
2006.
It was probably around that time, but it was still,
and that would have been why I would have missed it. So
it's still such a great game, and the level up system is, or the ability system is cool because how it works is everybody has a board, and in order to unlock abilities, you have to find items and slot them into the board.
That's cool.
So if you're think of the best way to equate it would be Stardew Valley at the community center where it's bring me corn and blueberries, whatever, and you would put a thing in there. That's what this is on a board. So it'd be I need this fruit and a sword, and then it gives you an ability, and then it'll unlock you be able to go to the. It's very deep. Like I said, I'm only on chapter 2, but even that takes a while because you have to go through the giant.
And you're playing that PS2 to PS4 / PS5. That has trophies, isn't it?
It does. It's doable.
I bought it on one of the many big sales that they had. I bought it, so it's one that I've always had on the back burner.
I will say that
one day
playing a PS2 game that's a PS4 game on a PS5 on a 65-inch TV in HD, it can cause the game to look weird. I don't want to say it looks bad, but you know what I mean. The overall image is very good, but sometimes text is blurry.
It's never
I know what you mean. To be that big or that well rendered.
I mean that would have still been developed at a time most people had tube TVs.
Yeah.
So
it just the way it shows up on the TV makes it look strange. But it's you get over it pretty quick. It's just the only thing I don't like about it is again, since it's a PS2 game, think of it as you're using a PS2 controller to control it. So things like camera control aren't good. Locking on, you can never really be quite sure what you're locked onto because you can't spin the camera correctly. Yeah. It's one of those games where like L1 puts the camera behind your back and it's the best you could do.
It reminds me of going back to the original Blood Rain.
Mm-hmm. Or
like it has that control. Old, like, that era.
3D platformer things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it'll take me a while to get used to it, but I'll get used to it, you know? But again, I know you have it. Like if you could find the time to start something like that, it's worth it.
I'm thinking, so I should also mention I have not played it yet. I bought it because obviously I saw enough scuttle about it. It's up my alley. I've seen enough people praise it. I'm sure you have heard of it because it's one of the hot indie games of this week or last week.
Oh, I know.
Crow Country.
Yes.
Okay. I have purchased it. I bought on the PlayStation the other day. I have not played it yet. And I was holding off because I think I've decided between now and June 21st when the Shin Megami comes out, because that'll be my next like huge RPG.
Yeah.
I don't really want to play like a huge RPG in between, so I think I've decided in the next 2 weeks I'm going to open and tackle Alone in the Dark. I can't imagine that's a very long game.
Not if you just are in the mindset where you're like, I'm just going to play this and be done, and not
from everything I've seen, like the people that have played it, it seems like it's fine.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that. It's got our buddy Hopper
right
from Stranger Things. So, but Crow Country, I'm going to look at that as well. I did not have a chance to sit down. I didn't have a good chunk of time because I knew it would be the kind of game like I don't want to start and play 10 minutes of this and then I got to go do something. It's the kind of game where I'd like to sit down and actually play it. And I also read it's not very long. It's like 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I just decided to start this too because I was in the mood for, I guess, like an RPG of some kind that wasn't necessarily like a main. Like a new main thing. I
mean, I would tell you, I'm in the mood for an RPG, but I know if I start one right now, that is going to diminish me being in the mood to play Shin Megami in a month.
Yeah, my next game at this point is realistically my Baldur's Gate physical should ship this month.
Okay,
maybe next month.
That'll be a big.
That'll be a big
amount of time.
Thing. But I don't really have anything after that other than college football's going the other.
I was gonna say you're probably gonna get college football.
Yeah, which they put the trailer out for that today.
Okay,
it's just like a minute and a half of kind of showing like what it looks like in engine and stuff. Holy shit, dude, it looks good. I mean, I know deep down it's just Madden, but it's college football. But I also haven't played a Madden game in probably 7 years. So,
yeah, you're in the right mindset where because I mean the sports games that come out every year, you can get burned out of those easily. But if you haven't played one of those, like any of those for 6-7 years, it should be at least a new enough experience.
And this is the first college football game in 11 years.
11 years,
okay. And it's it's all licensed now. We have player names and everything. Like this is the version of college football everybody always wanted, and now
I think it'll do very well.
I think it's going to sell like crazy. I think there's a chance it will sell at least as good as Madden.
I'll tell you the funny thing, and now we're getting to it. So when I saw the announcement and I saw the title of it, College Football 25, the first thing that I think of is, remember 10 years ago when they did Madden 25 for the 25th anniversary? Yeah. Now we're actually going to be at Madden 25.
They're not going to care. It's just called Madden 25.
Yeah, I thought that was because I was like, they're calling College Football 25, and then I put it together. I'm like, well, it actually would be 2025, so that makes sense.
I'm actually a little surprised it's still Madden. I would have thought they would have given up on that by now. And honestly,
stop calling it Madden and just call
honestly,
it
wouldn't
football
this have been the year
NFL?
To do it? College football's back, so we could have College Football 25 and NFL Football 25.
Yeah, if you were going to drop the Madden name, this would be the year to do it, but I would call it NFL.
Right. It's just going to be called NFL Football, whatever. Yeah. Which is fine at this point, especially if they're going to keep doing college football going forward. Because the other smart thing they did, and there are people that are going to do it, I don't care because I don't want Madden, is they made that digital deluxe deal where you get both.
Oh, yeah.
It's a package of both. You get them both 3 days early.
Again, that's cool for the people that are hard in.
Right. Well, I'm hoping they haven't said they're going to talk more about features soon, but I'm hoping that they're going to do what they used to do with the college football games in the past, where like you'd finish a season and you can export the players into Madden. So that when you did a Madden draft, it would be all of your players from the college.
That's pretty cool.
Which was always a cool thing because like they would keep their stats and everything. So it would be, if you had a guy who was really good in college, you could draft him in Madden and he'd be really
That's
good.
neat.
Yeah, so that was always a neat thing. So that's got to exist again, right?
I would.
How hard is that to? That's just an export or roster.
If it's not in this year's, maybe next year's.
Right.
But I would think
I could see them leaving out some things just because it's the first year it's back.
But also, if you're going to put out a pack that combines both of them, then that makes a lot of sense to do.
Basically one game. Yeah. So yeah, that's why it's like I'll play Rogue Galaxy now. Baldur's Gate's enough of a different game.
And I'll tell you the RPG that is sitting on my mind to do, because the new one, the next one will be out this fall, would be East 9.
Oh,
I need
you and I have not played.
And I'll just start it over because I wasn't very far into it, but and I've looked in because now there is the PS5 version, but it's not really the big difference. So I'll just play the version I have.
Would be much different though.
No, but
there's that.
That's probably what I'll do maybe after Shin Megami. But I just know if I start one of those now, I won't be as hungry for that RPG.
I was down to starting Rogue Galaxy again, or that Star Ocean 2.5.
Because the only other game I have sitting here, it is open because I opened it, was obviously Stellar Blade. But now I'm at the point where I'm just not in the mood for that kind of game right now.
Right.
So I kind of bought into the hype of maybe I should buy this because it will be kind of hard to find, and I don't know if it really is or not. But I will get to it at some point. But I'm just not in the mood for that kind of action game right now. No. But I did like the demo, so but that wraps you up.
Yeah, that's everything I did.
How about you, Matt?
So I've just been playing filler titles, man. Like I have not really been into jumping into anything too crazy. I had a pretty stressful week last week.
Yeah.
I tackled The Last of Us. I played maybe like another hour and a half of that. Like I'm at the point now where Joel just found his brother and Ellie stole a horse. So I mean, not too crazy. I decided to jump back into Apex Legends. I heard they released a new character, and I wanted to check that one out to see what they were like. And I mean, I haven't played that game since December. And
how many seasons have passed since you stopped playing?
I think I want to say, because each season I think lasts 90 days.
Oh, okay.
So I want to say it's been about, like when I jumped on to play, they were in the last day of that last season.
Okay.
So I would say 2 seasons have passed since that. And they just, like I said, they just released that new character for this new season, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe. She might have been, no, I want to say she's a new season, like a new release this season. Damn, I even forgot her name. I couldn't even tell you what her name was. She's got weird abilities. Like she can. The biggest problem I have with Apex is not that it's a bad game. I really like the fact that they've tried to make each legend different, so that depending on who you have a different play style of the game. The downfall is it's like a lot of the legends are starting to mimic each other in a way. So like she's in what they refer to as the skirmisher type person.
All right.
But her powers kind of feel a lot like an original Apex Legend. And it doesn't really feel like there's too much of a difference between the two of them and how they play. But there's just like a slight difference. It's just weird how they did it. Like I don't like the fact that a lot of these legends are like now starting to just there's like a little tweak here that's causing them to create a brand new person when it's really just not doing much changing at all. What they should be doing right now is honestly killing off legends, people that aren't used in the game as often,
like
people that aren't
just
needed.
Maybe weeding out some of it a little bit to slim down the roster.
Like to slim down the roster if you want to, or maybe like not even like killing off legends if you don't want to go that route. Just stop doing them for right now.
Well, I would think that the reason that they would be prevented from doing that would be microtransactions and outfits and stuff for characters.
Yeah, and I get that, but it's like you gotta do something to get your game back to the point where it was, because right now it's fallen off early. I will say the one thing I did like that they did this. I don't know if it's a this season thing or whatnot, but they added a solo queue for you to just play solo if you really want to.
That's cool. Okay.
Which is nice because, I mean, shit, at some of the rates, some of those people drop off. You feel like it's just better to play solo because, like,
yeah, for sure.
Makes, like, the way people play that game is insane. Like, it just makes no sense sometimes. So, all in all, I mean, yeah, I'll probably play it a couple more times this season just to kind of get the feel of it, see if it's maybe something I want to play again. But I'm going towards a no. And then I tackled some WWE 2K23. I realized I still had a bunch of free belts, so I had just been doing like championship matches, like putting the titles on people that I think deserve titles and shit like that.
That's good.
Which is a lot of. I mean, 23 is fun. 24 looks fantastic. I really want to play that, but I also think I want to save that for the game that I buy whenever I decide to buy a PS5.
Okay.
So, because I think it looks better PS5 wise than anything else.
Probably, I would imagine now at this point, it probably there's enough of a difference between the versions.
Yeah.
Than like because this would be would this be the third or fourth year now that they've made a PS4 and PS5 version?
I want to say I think this is the third year.
The third year? Okay.
Yeah.
Because remember, there was also, after 2K20, they skipped a year because that was the disaster year, right?
That was
horrible. Yeah, I believe that was horrible.
It's a bad game. A lot of fun glitches to watch, though.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's fun. But, yeah, that's really it. I'm hoping to tackle... I kind of went on a buying binge this past week. I know Xbox had a lot of sales. I bought
Xbox has some sales. PlayStation's got like a end of spring or early summer sale going right now.
Steam has a couple of good ones.
Yeah, Steam does.
I have bought like a handful of games just based off of looking at them. Like, two of the games I can think of right now. I bought Alex the Kid on 360.
Okay, I have that. I have it sealed somewhere because I bought a physical copy of that.
It's pretty fun. It is very angering because I did try it for a little while. Like, I was thinking, this was going to be like other games and like, from that era, and you have like a life bar of some sort. Nope, you get hit one time, you're gone.
You're done.
And that's the most frustrating thing ever. But it's cool because on Alex the Kid, you can revert from like modern day graphics to like the old school and like just like hitting, I think it's like the left trigger.
Okay. It does really one of those. That's neat.
It's really cool how they did that. And I bought a game called Road 96.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of that one too.
I've heard of it.
I have no idea what it's about. But it was super cheap. And well, not like super cheap, but it was cheap on that sale on Xbox. And it looked interesting. So maybe I'll talk about that the next time we record. And then I bought Hotline Miami off of Steam.
You ever played those?
Nope.
Those games are cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The second one
and two.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were like $8, and I was like, "Well."
The first one I think is better than the second one. But they both they have amazing soundtracks. So like the best way I can describe that. Have you ever seen the 2011 movie with Ryan Gosling, Drive?
Oh yeah.
It is a video game of that.
Yeah, those games are just like
it's
style.
Really cool. It has like great synthwave music. It's really good.
I'm totally down there.
Yeah, I played a lot of the first one. I've only played through the second one once.
I don't think I ever played the second one, but I like the first one a lot.
Second one, they try to get a little too ambitious, I thought, for the story.
So I had it. I saw the spring sale on the PlayStation Network, and I actually put those in my cart because I was like, those look kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I jumped on Steam, and I saw Steam had the bundle pack, and I was like, well, let's just go ahead and buy it.
Yeah,
because I mean, that was hella cheaper and whatnot. So yeah, like I said, I bought a lot, and I really need to start playing these things and keep buying. So I can warrant buying.
The last thing I'll mention is that I did it today, but that new season of Diablo is out, like the loot.
Yeah, I want to go back.
So I was like, well, let's see if this PC version like fiasco has been fixed. So I re-downloaded it on PC, and I was able to load into the game right away. So I with this new season, they secretly patched those issues. So I will report more on that next week, but I wanted to just load it up and like kind of see what they've done.
Yeah,
because it's not. It is a season, but it's kind of not at the same time. It seems like they've like redone the entire loot system. That's what they're calling it.
To come back. Yeah.
So I'm interested. But yeah, and it's a good time to do that now that it's been on Game Pass for what, like a little over a month now. So I'm sure they got a lot of new people playing it off of that as well. But we can go ahead. We can kick it off. There's a shit ton of news. A lot of dumb fucking things happened in the last 2 weeks since we recorded. A lot of stuff.
A lot of it's one giant story that's a mess.
A lot of it's one giant story, which we got a couple emails on. When we get to it, I'll read those. The first one I put in here, and it's ironic because this story broke like maybe the day after we recorded, and a couple days before the big thing that we'll get to. But apparently, Vicarious Visions, the people that made Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remaster came out in 2020. Beloved. I loved it, but it was beloved. Activision rejected their pitch for a Tony Hawk 3 and 4 and moved them on to just be a continued support studio for Call of Duty, which is a huge bummer. But now, give it a couple days. We'll get to it, but we kind of know the reasons why now.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a bummer. I wanted to see I at least wanted them to see 3 and 4 be done.
I love 3 and 4. Like I love those two. Like, I love all 4 of those games, but I would have loved to see, especially like 4. I would have loved to see like 4 be done. Because 4 was when the game started to change, where you could just kind of skate around and then find stuff to do. And
4 was the first one. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was the first one where you could actually get off the board and walk around.
Yeah,
right?
because you would load into a level and then you would go around and find stuff to do.
That's right.
You just had 2 minutes to do something.
Yeah,
and so there wasn't as much, quote unquote pressure in 4.
And then Underground was what kind of really took that
August one it just like changed everything.
Yeah,
that's why I have a lot of nostalgia for 3 and 4 too. Because like 3, I went on my lunch break in high school to the Best Buy. I just zoom over there. It was like the day it came out. I race over there on my lunch break, run in, and just went in. I was like,
and it was
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
You got that on PS2, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay,
and they had
it was on PS1
on that. Those carts they used to push around that they would have the games on. They would restock.
Yes,
it was on one of those.
That's fantastic.
Grab it, ran out, bought it, and then that way I got home from school. Boom, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 day, baby. And then 4, I was working at Game Crazy when it came out. So we just, hey, get this. Tony Hawk comes out today. Let's go ahead and put that in the system all day. And we just played Tony Hawk 4 at work all day.
Yeah, like Tony Hawk franchise is for me a beloved franchise, and I've played all of them, obviously. But I even was attached to those through the 360 era, even though some of those are lesser than. But like American Wasteland, I thought was an amazing game. And I played that originally. It came out, I remember too, because it came out in August, the year that the 360 came out, and I played through and done everything in the Xbox version, and then I redid it on the 360.
And then you got the DS version, and you played that.
That was the Skateland, right? American
Skateland.
Not a bad game either. So
no, you know what's weird? You know what? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. You want to talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3? I played a lot of that on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, because they actually made a smart decision with how those games played on a handheld.
They made them isometric.
Yeah,
and it's for when you first start playing it, the depth perception on it is a little bit off, but eventually you remember how it works. I would play that at my first job, which was like a soccer store. So a lot of times I'd be sitting around doing nothing. So I would just bring my Game Boy and I played Tony Hawk and Golden Sun at that job.
There you go, Golden Sun.
That was great.
but yeah, it's a bummer. I was hoping that with Microsoft getting Activision stuff, maybe they would greenlit some of this stuff.
Yeah, and
but
you wouldn't have had to, honestly. Those are the only last two you needed to do. We didn't have to worry about doing Thug, or I mean, you could have got away with doing Thug and Thug 2 because people would have loved it, but I don't think that would have been necessary. And then Skateland you wouldn't have had to do. Project 8 you for sure would not have had to do. And then everything after that is whatever.
What was the other one? Was Proving Ground?
Yeah, that was the other one.
There was Project 8, which was the 8th,
which was 8
game.
Right.
There was
Proving
was 5
Ground. And 6. Proving Ground was 7. No, Skateland.
Proving Ground 7. Had Guitar Hero World Tour demo, I think.
Because Wasteland was 7 then, right?
And then after that was then they did the board games,
right?
Which
Ride,
failed.
Shred. Those are terrible.
And then obviously their last ditch effort before everything was shut down was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which is terrible fucking video.
Remember they gave me that for free, thank God.
All for that stupid ground slam grind move, which just ruined that game.
That game was just bad.
It's unfortunate.
Bad.
It is unfortunate. So, but I mean, at least we did get a great remake of 1 and 2, but I would have liked to see them at least do 3 and 4, or make they proved that they could bring it back, make a new one.
Just make a game called Tony Hawk's
Pro Skater. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Yeah. Can't imagine he would be against it at this point.
Do you remember the IGN tagline for the Pro Skater 5 review? I still have it saved as a picture on my phone. It's pop shove it in the garbage.
Oh, yeah.
I always laughed at that.
That's a good one.
Because
man, what a bummer that game was.
What a terrible game that was.
I remember I had it reserved at the store, and then
you and I were talking. We were excited.
We got the day before, and I was like, I'm gonna go rent it from the Red Box, because this was at the point now Blockbuster, all the video stores were gone, but we still had Red Boxes that rented video games. If you were lucky enough to go rent the game and they actually had the disc,
it wasn't a piece of paper. Yeah.
I remember because I had to drive to the town next to us to get a copy of it, but I remember renting it, playing back. No, it's terrible, and then canceling the reserve.
They gave me a digital copy for free, and that's the only reason I've played it.
The other thing that ruined that game too was every time you loaded it, you had to load into a stupid online
awful lobby in that first skate park where all the whole bunch of people are
and it would tank the frame rate because it wasn't made correctly for that. So bad. What a bad game. So next thing in here, Alan Wake and Control developer Remedy has canceled that multiplayer co-op game that was codenamed Kestrel to just continue work on Control 2 and the upcoming Max Payne 1 and 2 remake, which seems like that is in full production now.
Yeah, I'm bummed in a way, just because
I wanted to see, because it was set in that universe, I wanted to see what weird, wacky thing they were going to do with a co-op game.
Yeah, and it could have been super fun, but I'm okay with it just because I want Control 2. And Max Payne.
If that means I get Control 2 faster, then fine.
And if I can get Max Payne 1 and 2 remade to play like a modern game, then yes, I'm.
What do you think that they do now because that guy passed, McCaffrey? Do they just reuse his lines from the original game? I would assume
get someone to re-record it.
You think you re-record the voice?
Long enough.
Okay,
you know what I mean. Like if it was,
I know his voice is really iconic for that. It is,
but I think it's been long enough since Max Payne has, especially 1 and 2 have been out, that it's safer to go for a sound alike. You can find someone to do a sound alike, I'm sure.
You think Nolan North could?
What's he doing? He's probably doing.
I was gonna say, do you think he could pull that one off? Troy Baker.
Let's get Matt Mercer in. Maybe they each do one line and they skip lines.
There you go.
And it's just and then we tell them to read all the lines into an AI machine, and then the AI machine spits it out.
There you go.
And there we go.
I put this one separate from the other news next because it actually did come out the day before the big stuff that we'll get to. It predates.
It's also not a real big part of the rest of it because it's
also not a real shocker.
No, we've talked about it before.
Which is the Perfect Dark reboot is in trouble. That studio is not doing very well with that game.
Dead. It's over.
Like we have said many times at this point on the podcast that game probably is not going to happen.
If it ever comes out at this point, it's not good, and it's not what it should be. So don't put it out.
I think at this point, if they do it, this is not what I want. By the way, I'll clarify. This is not what I want the game to be. But I think at this point, if they do anything, they make it some sort of just multiplayer thing and shove it out.
Yeah,
and that's not what people want.
No, I would rather it be at most 2-player co-op game.
Yeah.
No,
that's a big part of those 2 games.
It was a huge part. It was a huge part of the first 64 game. That game had bots on a 64.
Yeah, it did.
And they were very good.
They were very good.
If you played Perfect Sim or Dark Sim, it was insane.
You could tank the frame rate of that game too.
Oh god, that game would be well, GoldenEye not the best either, but
no.
Yeah, it's just if it comes out at this point, it's not anywhere close to the game I'd as a Perfect Dark fan that I would want it to be.
It sounds like it is in such a bad state that as of today, if they were going to do anything, it would be rebooted from whatever they've done.
Yeah.
So you're not going to hear about it for probably another 4 years.
It's dead. And you're talking to somebody who likes. I like Zero. I know people don't.
I didn't hate Zero, but also at the time that it came out, it was the only real multiplayer game to play unless you were still playing Halo 2.
I remember turning it on and thinking like that opening cutscene was great. Like the intro to the game.
That cutscene was really good.
And then I own a box copy of Perfect Dark for Game Boy Color. So
that was the big reason I was really excited about the 360. It was like, oh, they're making a new Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
Like
huge.
That was a huge reason to get the system.
It's going to be a prequel, and then there was talks for a while back then that like Perfect Dark 2 was a thing, but then obviously disappeared because Zero. I don't want to say it tanked, but like when Call of Duty 2 came out, it destroyed it.
Well, Call of Duty 2. So Call of Duty 2 launched at the same time as Perfect Dark Zero. The problem with the game, and why I say like at the very beginning, like the first month of the 360, what the multiplayer game was Perfect Dark, is because the servers for Call of Duty 2 were fucked up.
Yeah, they didn't work.
So I remember getting that as launch as well, and then being like, whatever. And then when they fixed those, everybody jumped to Call of Duty 2.
Everybody jumped to Call of Duty. It was
which was that was pre what Call of Duty today, and that was a very good multiplayer.
Yes.
So a lot of sniping.
But yeah, if I don't know. I think Perfect Dark now, it's the kind of thing where you just don't hear anything about it for a year, and then it becomes that's over.
Agreed.
Bummer. Put Joanna Dark in Fortnite.
There you go. You want to drum up excitement for it? Put her in Fortnite.
Put her in Fortnite.
Dragon Age 4 apparently will release by the end of this year. I think at this point they are at we need to get it out.
No, it won't.
You don't think it comes out this year?
No. Tell me what.
I remind you every time. This game has to come out before we can even go full steam ahead on the next Mass Effect.
It's May 17th. Tell me what Dragon Age 4 is.
I can't tell you. Here's my prediction. If there's nothing shown of this game at either one of the stages or the Summer Games Fest, which the rumor is it'll be shown at Summer Games Fest.
It would have to be.
If it is not, there is no way this game comes out this year.
No.
If nothing is shown. So, but I would think if it is shown, I think they fully reveal it. I think you get a release date. I think it's this fall. They start their pre-order campaign and all that stuff.
Do you think that this game is going to suffer from the fact that
it's been 10 years?
Well, there's that, but if you go all the way back to Dragon Age 1, that's kind of a Baldur's Gate game.
Kind of, yeah.
So do you think Dragon Age 4 is going to suffer by the fact that
because of how good Baldur's Gate 3 is for that crowd?
One of the best games that's been released in the past decade, pretty much.
I think there definitely will be a lot of comparisons drawn whenever it does come out because of how good
I think
Baldur's
a lot
Gate
of
3
reviews
is.
will touch on that.
They're going to have to.
Right.
But I think the thing that will save it a little bit is it doesn't have the same kind of combat as Baldur's Gate 3. And
not
for
anymore.
The crowd of people, no, not anymore. But remember, the thing that was cool about the original Dragon Age is you could do either or.
Right.
And that was kind of cool. Dragon Age 2 took it in a different direction. Yeah, and then Dragon Age 3 or Inquisition was not a bad game. I enjoyed it.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it, but I'm curious to see what this one is. I mean, it's been a decade. What have we seen? Concept footage at one point.
Fans left,
right?
That's the other point. Yeah,
I don't think there are Mass Effect fans still left. Like even after Andromeda almost murdered that franchise, there's still people that like you and I I would love a Mass Effect, not 4, just a new Mass Effect game.
I think from the teasers that they put out for Mass Effect, for what they've shown, I mean, they showed Liara. In one of those teasers, they showed. I think the other one was like the ship that kind of made it was like a ship from a top-down view, but then it makes it look like it's a Geth. But it's clearly an N7 ship.
To get the franchise back on track, you have to go back to elements of the first 3.
Being how that game ended with them, I mean, spoiler for a 10-year-old game, but with those Mass Effect relays, all being destroyed, you could do something at that point that I think would be interesting, maybe rebuilding that technology or something. Because remember the last shot of Mass Effect 3 was them on some random planet opening the thing. So, and there is no more Shepard, although if you get the one ending, technically Shepard's not dead.
Yeah.
So could they? I mean, they have rebuilt Shepard literally from nothing once before.
I would like it to be something where I don't know how feasible it would be, but maybe if you had like a PS4 save or a Series X save or whatever, where you come across Shepard, but you aren't them.
Maybe it's the kind of thing where it can at least read on your profile you've played it, like through your trophies or achievements or something.
Yeah.
And you can run across. But yeah, I at this point, I don't think I would want to play as Shepard again.
Not anymore.
I would want a new character that you create, because I also didn't care for what they did in Andromeda. Andromeda had a lot of problems. I will still argue. I think, and I don't know if you didn't play Andromeda, did you?
No, I never bothered.
Andromeda, even though for all of its faults, best combat of the series. That was the one thing that was really redefined in that game. It's unfortunate a lot of other things in that game were broken, but I did not like, because you either pick from a brother or a sister. So whatever character you don't, whatever character you don't pick, the other one is like knocked out for the story of the game, and when you finish it, they wake up.
Dumb.
So, and it depends on which one you pick. So, I didn't care for that because it didn't give you enough customization over your character like the original did with Shepard. So, you kind of were. It was a much more limited. Right. So. They also did a bad job in that game of like new alien races. There was like one. So, and then missing alien races from the other games. So, but yeah, I at this point I would like to see some of those characters you remember, like Liara and everything, but I wouldn't want to play a Shepard again.
No,
I think, but I still would like it set in that universe, I think, at that time. So you could make a very fascinating story set after the events of that trilogy, I think. So
for sure,
I'm sure somebody somewhere in a closet is banging away on the script of that game as they try to finish Dragon Age. So, but why don't we kick over to the big hot button topic of the week, the massive story. I'm going to read the emails we got first. Okay. We can get into it. Because there's a lot of bits and pieces to it. There's a lot. It seems like there's a lot to the news that I put in here, but it's really just one story that has a bunch of parts to it.
Kind of rolled out over a couple.
And it all involves Xbox, who have stepped on another rake. They've stepped on a lot of rakes this year.
Yeah,
they have stepped on a lot of rakes this year, have they not? Though, since the beginning of the year, it's ridiculous.
I would even go back, to last year too, where
a little bit. So first email we have comes from Henry from White Oak, Ohio. Hey dudes, I wanted to write in regarding all this Microsoft bullshit this past week. Well, it does really seem like an oh shit, here we go again moment. I don't think people here are taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. It really seems like people above Phil and company are stepping in and starting to steer the ship. I mean, think about it. We kind of now know that Game Pass has become stagnant. Xbox console sales are in the toilet in comparison to PS5. And while they have a pretty good lineup for 2024 and the potential to have some heavy hitters in 2025 like Fable, let's be honest, everything with them has been just a non-starter this generation. Never forget they launched this console without a single exclusive title only for this console, which is just baffling. Next email on this we have comes from Steve from Fall River, Wisconsin. Hey gents, what do you all think about the Microsoft business? It seems insane to close a studio like Tango, especially being their only Japanese studio. Is there any reason in having faith in this brand anymore? They've repeatedly promised games, and then they haven't delivered on that promise. And now with them seemingly switching strategies to being multi-platform, I just can't understand why anyone would buy an Xbox system anymore. And our final email comes from Dennis from Charleston, West Virginia. Hey, dudes, love the podcast. I had to write in on this Xbox nonsense. What is happening? It really seems like top-level execs want to gut the brand and make it something else. Do you think they are the next Sega? Ooh. So
it's a lot. Like
there's a lot. But we'll go ahead. We'll go through. So basically, what happened is I believe it was this past Tuesday. They came out and they announced that they are closing 4 studios. 2 of them, or no, not this past Tuesday, the Tuesday before.
Yeah.
A couple of them make sense. One of them does not.
Which one do you think doesn't make sense?
Tango.
See, Tango to me. So let's talk about the other ones first. So obviously, like Arcane, Redfall, Colossal Bomb. Somebody had to eat the bullet. It was going to be them.
It did, but at the same time, you can go back to his comment from last year where Phil Spencer said we're not going to shut it down.
There's also the thing where we're not going to touch it. We're going to let them make their thing. Like we didn't, and then it came out. Well, they didn't help us make anything, and the whole thing was just a shit show from the get go. But when that tanked and it imploded, someone had to eat it, and it was going to be them. Because it's the easiest answer is to just be like, oh, well, they made a bad game and we need to close some stuff.
The important thing to note, because I do see some people get it confused out there too, it's Arcane Austin, not Correct. Arcane as a whole.
No.
So it's that one studio. Part of Arcane is closed.
Because Arcane is still making the Blade game.
Yes.
And some other stuff, I'm sure, too. I think
one part of Arcane is making Blade, and I think the rumor is that the other one is working on something to do with Dishonored.
That's what I had heard too. There was another Dishonored thing coming, which Dishonored obviously is the franchise that made
that studio.
So I could see why they would let them try again. It's odd to me that they're not going to bother with Prey, just because I feel like that did well.
Prey was the game that Arcane Austin made before Redfall,
right?
Which was very well received. It did not sell very well, but it was very critically well received. I played it. I enjoyed it. It's not the same as the original Prey.
No.
It was a very good game.
And it wasn't supposed to be Prey. We've talked about that too.
It was its own thing, but it was really good.
But so Arcane is definitely one that makes sense to me that it was gone. What was the other one?
The other 2, one of them was a mobile studio, like Alpha Dog Games.
And then Roundhouse Games.
Yeah. Roundhouse Games wasn't shutting. They're going to be a Call of Duty support studio.
Right, and that's the thing is like some of this stuff is like they're not necessarily like firing everyone involved with this stuff. Some of these people are getting moved over and absorbed into other things. The Tango one, I get why a lot of people think it's weird is because, Hi-Fi Rush, Critical Darling, supposedly did pretty well. They just put it on PlayStation.
I mean, they came out
original.
That Aaron Greenberg came out and said that they were pleased with how well it sold.
Loved it. But then the first thing I said to you when we heard about it, I said, he left. They don't.
Shinji.
Yeah. Mikami left. Like, so, and he left pretty much like right after that thing got released, didn't he?
He left in January of this year.
Right. So like not far after it came out.
No.
And basically he said, I'm out. I'm going to go do something else again.
He made a new studio.
Right. See, but you can't tell me that Microsoft bought this studio just because they wanted him.
I think that's part of it.
And then with him
gone, he left.
And even though Hi-Fi Rush did well, you can't tell me it sold anywhere near the amount they would want it to sell,
Evil Within
or anything like that. So when it comes down to who else can we get rid of, well, he's gone. I don't know what they're going to make next. We'll get rid of it. So that one's not strange to me. It's shitty to me, but it's not strange.
Of the 4, of the 4, it seems like the shittiest one because not only does it puts that on the other smaller teams. Like right now,
you can make a good
this
game
Tuesday
that's critically received,
and it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter.
And here's the thing: all eyes right now are on Ninja Theory because Hellblade 2 comes out on Tuesday. That is a small team. If that game, it doesn't matter. If that game's critically does well on Game Pass, that could be shut down
easily.
So,
and I was reading a lot of stuff where like there's not a lot of hype going around for that game. That game comes out.
There's not a lot of hype for that game, but part of my issue with the hype train on that game is Microsoft is not doing a good job promoting it.
No,
it just seems like they're sending it out to die,
right?
Which is really strange because that was the game they showed when they announced this console.
Yes,
the Series X. That was the first thing that they showed. Like, hey, look at Hellblade. It really seems like we're turning that into a big new franchise. And then you find out, no, it's just another 8 to 10 hour linear game.
And
like
the first one did so well. It won awards. People loved it. They loved it. You would think they would really be like, especially this year when what else is coming?
It's also another one of those games, and unfortunately, I don't think I put in the news here, but it unfortunately has to be put in that 30 frame argument because it's coming out and it's not 60 frames on the consoles.
Don't worry, it'll get a 60 frame patch after it's announced. It's
a year from now. Yeah,
because
I'm going to try it on PC. I'm going to try it on PC, so I will talk about it the next time we record. But I wasn't a huge fan of the original one, and part of it was it's a very cool game. It's very well made. The audio, especially, it's a game you need to play with headphones because of how the audio works. But it doesn't go far enough into its combat. The combat for me was too simplistic.
It seemed like this one was going to do.
It seems like that, but I don't know now.
A game.
It seemed like that, but then when they came out and said, no, it's still an 8 to 10 hour game, I think a lot of people were really disappointed by that.
But everything they've shown on it makes it look like weird as hell, like interesting. Like
the first one was weird as hell.
It's a weird game. And I think there's room for that. People like that kind of stuff. But
yeah, there is.
But did you see the Redfall stuff from today? Confirmed it is going to.
Yeah, and that was. I didn't put it in here because I figured we would talk about it in here. But so they were working on a patch to give an offline mode for that game that they promised. Then they, when this studio closure came out, they said, no, we're going to cut all the support on that.
No DLC for people who paid for DLC.
They're probably they're giving the money back to those people. I saw that, which is they kind of have to, but I also question how many people really bought that.
There can't be that many.
Not enough that they were going to take a hit.
Not that many people bought a digital deluxe edition of a game available on Game Pass.
Exactly.
It's not real.
But they are going to make that offline mode available, which I think is a kind of a good faith thing. At least
it is a. We told you we would give you this, and also, even though we're not gonna, the studio doesn't exist, it keeps the game alive. Yeah, which is important for other reasons.
I said before, the little bit that I played of the game, I don't think it's a bad game.
Right
after the patch that they put out, it's a very unique and interesting game. It's not perfect by any means, but I think there was a lot of originality to it. So that I would like to go back and play more of it at some point, but. So obviously the studio shutters have just made it worse. I'd argue now the faith in this brand is lower than it was a decade ago with the Xbox One reveal. We're lower than that because with this you also have, I mean, there's other stuff and we'll go through it. There's rumblings of a Game Pass price hike. Then there was scuttle of, well, are we going to put Call of Duty on Game Pass this year? Or are we not? Now it's come out today. It seems pretty much confirmed it will be on Game Pass, which I don't know if that's the smartest move for Microsoft.
I was going to ask you, like, do you really think like that?
I don't think it's a smart move.
I think it's a bad idea. I think
it's a bad idea.
I get that, like, putting it on there is going to bump Game Pass numbers. I get that.
Right.
It's better for I get that it's better for the consumer if it's just a Game Pass game.
It is.
But I think for a title that essentially you just paid $68 billion for, that's kind of dumb, right? I guess they're hoping that we'll just make it back in COD bucks or COD
microtransactions,
or COD coins or COD euros.
It's not. Well, the other thing is, like, you're not going to get any kind of map packs or anything. You're going to have to buy. They're not going to give those to Game Pass.
And you're also, and the other thing about Call of Duty is, remember, they don't give a shit about the single player game anymore. That's not what they don't.
I'll be interested to see if they do one this year.
They'll release that, but it's Warzone. You want Warzone, and they want money from Warzone, and we'll make content for Warzone. Like, that's all it is. And I feel like they could have gotten away with still charging for it, and people know like, well, that's dumb, and it wouldn't matter. People still would have bought it. Remember, they get the revenue from the PlayStation copies that sell now. So
I think Call of Duty should have been their, break glass in emergency situation.
3 months
and they
later.
should have waited a year or two.
Hey, Christmas Day.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody's getting an Xbox and Christmas. Call of Duty's on here today.
Yeah.
The thing that we know now is that with some releases, because the numbers came out that for Starfield, it only moved the needle 3% for new subscribers to Game Pass.
Right.
What is Call of Duty on Game Pass going to move that to 5%? Like, I don't think it's going to be big enough, because the other argument here is, and especially I'll put it in here now, even though I think it's a news article for later, but we just learned in this was it the last month or the last quarter, PlayStation 5 has outsold the Xbox Series X and Series S
like
5 to 1.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just an embarrassing.
Well, that's the other thing about like COD moving Game Pass. Does it matter? Because it's still a PlayStation. It's on PlayStation still.
It's been on PlayStation for the last decade, because they had the marketing rights for the last decade.
Right.
And you have not only last generation, which was a mostly PlayStation generation, but this generation is a mostly PlayStation generation.
Most of the COD revenue, regardless if you charge for it on Xbox, is going to come from Sony. So is there a real detriment to actually putting it on Game Pass? Probably not, because I don't think you're expecting that much money.
You know that they had the counters sitting there counting all of this to figure it out.
Right.
But I think what you're seeing, the bigger part of this here is, I do think that it is the kind of situation where the head CEO, Satya Nadella, and I forget the lady's name because there's somebody else that's higher up too. I think they're coming down hard on this division, the Xbox division, and mandating some of this stuff. Like, we need to start making money here.
I feel like they're making it, well, because remember, there's that thing going around with, well, it's not called Xbox internally anymore.
Yeah, internally. So internally, and I've seen this rumor a lot. Nothing's been confirmed, but they're not going to confirm that until they confirm it at a press conference. But internally, they're referring to it now as Microsoft Gaming.
Right.
Instead of Xbox, which, then you start to ask that question, like, well, you have Sarah Bond out here talking about they're still making, the next most powerful system, but like, is that really going to matter?
No. I think
when your competition is selling 5 to 1.
No, I think honestly, I don't even think that the next powerful console is necessarily the right move. I think if they were to get into this rumored handheld stuff that keeps floating around, I think that's a good move instead.
I think it's a smart move for them, because Game Pass would really it really plays into the handheld setting with all the indie games and stuff.
Native Game Pass handheld, which can
download games to it, has storage,
or it could stream from your Xbox in your house like a Portal does. Basically, a Portal that also downloads games.
That has storage. You can download games.
Right.
It should.
But so it's like a mix of a Portal and a Steam Deck. I think is the ideal thing for them to do. And then you wouldn't call it an Xbox; it would be a Microsoft gaming
platform.
Right?
They'll have some name.
They'll make a name for it, but it'll be Microsoft Gaming.
I think when we do get to a reveal of whatever it is, I think that is the plan. I think you're going to have whatever powerful box that they have, and then instead of a Series S, you're going to have whatever that handheld thing is.
That'd be a better instead of having two different consoles, have a console and a handheld, but the handheld,
because it does also seem like that's been a real wrench this generation, is the Series S, because of how limited it is.
How about the console is powerful, but it also has a dock on the top, so you set your handheld on it.
There you go.
Boom.
There you go. Well, then here comes the next part of the Call of Duty on Game Pass argument, is then, do they raise the price of Game Pass?
What is it now? 17?
It is. It's either 16 or 17.99.
Okay. So if we're not going to sell Call of Duty for 70, we're essentially selling it.
I mean, you can still buy it on Xbox, but who's going to do that?
But if we're not going to do that, then essentially we're selling it for 17, because you have to, even if you're an existing subscriber, you're paying again. It's $17 that we're getting for people who play Call of Duty. I don't know if Game Pass can sustain another increase again. Like this is, I get why.
I don't think you can push it above 20.
20 is the cap. I think once you pass 20, you're talking about how many games am I really playing a month on Game Pass? Is it like, am I going to pay $20 to play Call of Duty for 4 months, or am I going to buy it once for $70?
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people will draw a line. I'm because of the thing that I did, I'm grandfathered until October of 25, so I still got time before I have to worry about it. But it does become that question, like when that time comes up, a year and a half from now, how much is the service going to cost?
How many Game Pass games am I actually playing?
Exactly.
Because if it's only one game a month, then it makes more sense to buy it.
It does.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. They have, I don't know, they have such a odd future they're carving out, and a lot of it is just, and again, I can't argue, like there has been mismanagement and terrible,
there's been a lot,
just terrible messaging.
There has been,
because they're never clear on anything with any of this stuff.
And let's be real, you and I have been Phil Spencer defenders for a long time.
We have,
for basically since before he even took over. Like when he finally started to show up and be like, I'm in charge of like Xbox games and I'm going to do this, that, and the other.
He made a lot of good decisions.
He made a lot of good, he made a lot of good faith efforts.
Got rid of the Kinect.
Was trying to do certain things that all seemed positive, but I haven't seen anything come of it in a long time.
I haven't seen anything come of his decisions since Game Pass, being the thing,
and Game Pass,
like he's done a lot of trips to Japan. He's talked to different studios. We've acquired all these studios because I mean, whether you want to say it or not, he is the guy that went out and helped acquire all these studios, not just Activision and Blizzard and Bethesda. But
people made fun of
stuff
him for
before
his
that.
Leaked emails of I want to buy Nintendo. It's like, because everybody wants to buy Nintendo. Like
I'm sure there's 100 of those at Sony as well.
Yeah, it's not; those aren't secrets.
Those aren't
but. It's like the email. One of the things that, kind of triggered me when reading those emails is, Xbox has always promised games.
Mm-hmm.
This summer is going to be, we have the games. And then they showed the sizzle reel. I don't remember ever being like a year later going, man, they really did have the games, because it doesn't happen. And it's just, I can't think of a good example of a year where I really feel like, man, they nailed it. That is anywhere within the past 6
years. Yeah,
that's for sure.
And I mean, it's even more dire, I think, this year than previous years when we get into this conference next month. I mean, is that what they're going to do? Is he going to come out once again? We're going to talk about all these games that are coming out, but we're going to see the same stuff. I mean, more Fable. That's not going to come out this year.
No.
That Compulsion Studios game, I can't think of it. Was South of Midnight? That ain't going to come out this year.
I remember that one, yeah.
Like, stuff like that, we're not going to see come out this year. The only thing that is a known game this year that would be a big deal would be Indiana Jones.
Right. But even then, like, for reasons, like, that game already has backlash on it.
And Avowed, I should say.
And Avowed should be, but
I hope so.
Should be like October.
The rumor is October. Yeah, the rumor is October,
but
which
that doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, I don't know what to believe. Well, I do know, but everything they say, I just go, yeah, okay, man. Like, I'm kind of tired of it. I'm not shitting in them because I think Sony is better at it, because they're not. Because look at
they're bad at it for different reasons.
Look at this year for first party games for Sony and tell me you give a damn. They don't exist.
There is nothing.
There's nothing. Although we might get a Lego Horizon game.
So weird.
Cool, man. I'll play it, but that's not.
Would that be a Sony exclusive game because it's Horizon?
It would have to be.
Okay.
Have to be. They made the Lego set. I remember, it's funny because like when this first got teased this week, everybody thought it was just more Lego sets because they had made the one from before, but now it really seems like it's a game. Which I mean, cool, man. I'll play it, but don't try to tell me that's a first party exclusive AAA title. It's a Lego game.
I mean, I will say there are cool things that are rumored for this Xbox conference. A new Doom finally. You know, that's something I've been waiting for a while.
So obviously, like, they would be doing that. And then there's
Another big one for me, which I put in here, State of Decay 3 finally, which, has been underground for so long. They keep putting updates out for 2, but like I would really like the next State of Decay.
Well, and now there's stuff going around where obviously like they're all hands on deck for Fallout. They're all hands on deck for
And I think that's a lot of I think that's a lot of why you saw some of those other Bethesda shutdowns is they're transitioning some of those. Again, not everybody in those. A lot of people were laid off. Not everybody, but I think they're transitioning that studio because of how big of a hit that TV show is. Mm-hmm. Look at how fast they're to greenlight another Fallout game.
Right. Well, they that's got to be next in the pipipeline. There's a chance
you're going to see that probably before
6. Yes. Or at the very least this rumored Fallout 3 like remaster.
I think if that exists, which it really does seem like that's real, that's at the show this year.
That's the perfect time to announce it.
I think you see the new Gears. I think if it exists, this is the one and only time I'll say if it exists, this is the show you see a collection.
I don't even know anymore.
And if that collection exists now, because that was the next thing I'll put in here is, the leadership above Phil Spencer doesn't want any red line apparently.
Right.
In terms of what games come to other platforms, they internally are referring to that as Project Latitude. So I could see, hey, here's a Gears collection. Oh, it's also coming out on PlayStation.
For sure. Why not?
For the first time, played Marcus Phoenix's first 3 games.
Why not? Sea of Thieves is incredibly popular on PlayStation. They already proven to themselves we really should just be doing this.
I mean, we knew before the floodgates opened for those games that they were going to be successful.
Right.
But the minute that those higher up execs saw the fact that 7 games that are Microsoft published games were in the top 10 selling games on the PlayStation Digital Store, they're not going to stop.
Then why aren't they all?
Then it became, why can't we just dominate that entire list?
Why can't we do Starfield? What if Master Chief Collection gets ported to PS5?
I would say until this most recent thing, I would have told you no. Now, I could see it.
I could see it easily. Because that game has been out for so long, refined for so long, like reworked to the
doesn't
point
need
where
any more patches.
It's finally done. Just port it. Just have somebody put it out there.
If they do that, please make sure it's crossplay for multiplayer.
I think. Well, the beauty of that is if it's Microsoft putting it on there, I think they're going to be
on
like
their servers.
You don't have a choice. This is cross. Even Sony hates crossplay. They buckle on a couple things here and there, like Minecraft and whatever, because Microsoft tells them.
I think that would be part of it.
I think that's part of the deal. I think part of the deal is it has.
Sea of Thieves, obviously,
right?
It does have exclusive servers for PlayStation, but there's no way they were going to put that game out on PlayStation. Go, well, you're locked off from these other platforms.
The entire existing player base,
which is what would we say, 30 million or something absurd? So
I do think that like. Master Chief Collection, totally in the.
I would welcome that. Give me a bigger community of people playing the multiplayer.
Yeah. You know what? What's crazy? That would sell like crazy because there are plenty of people who were Xbox people
that moved over
a PS5 now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you told them
you can play Halo,
on here, 4 Halo games on here, or is ODST in there too? 5 Halo games.
It's everything. Reach.
Yeah. Oh, 6. Mm-hmm. Wait, 6 Halo games in here.
It's to the point where it should just be called the Halo Collection now, because that's what it is.
Right. So I think that would sell like crazy. You want to talk about?
I would buy it again.
You want to talk about pre-order numbers on a PlayStation thing? Through the roof.
Through the roof. I would buy it again just because I would want to get trophies because it's a weird thing. I'm getting PS5 trophies in Halo.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
That's so weird.
But so like I'm all for like the red line going away, like,
but then it begs the question, so then what is the point of them having their own box?
Pride, I guess.
Yeah, like that's the thing, because like I look at it as someone who's been in that ecosystem for 20 years this fall, I think, close to it. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do in the next, like, what is the reason? Like the one email we got, what would the reason be today to tell somebody, hey, you should go out and buy an Xbox? other than Game Pass.
If Halo, Gears, and Starfield all end up on PlayStation in the next year, there isn't one.
There isn't one.
No. Yeah. And I also think that this tells me that Indiana Jones might be first on Xbox, but it's not going to be very long.
I think that window is 3 to 6. I still think it's 3 to 6 months. I think
I originally
more closer to
months.
The 3 month.
I had originally thought like 6 months, but now I think it's less. And I still think that maybe there's a 10% chance. It's
day one. Day one.
It's possible. You can't tell me they haven't been kicking. They haven't had discussions about that already.
They have to
all the time. But do I ever see them going like full Sega and not making a console anymore? I don't know.
It's a different time because again, you have people that are in the ecosystem for digital purchases. That wasn't a thing with the Dreamcast. Right. And that's, I think, a lot of people, even though they bring that up, and I mean, you have the idiots that want to see it happen for some reason, But
I don't think it's good if it goes away.
I don't think it's good if it goes away, but the thing is, that makes it a much more difficult thing because, again, all those, Sega went away. The Dreamcast was their last system, but all their games were physical things that you owned.
Right.
Hey, I can go into my living room, hook up a Dreamcast, and play those games. Whereas if Microsoft tomorrow was like, hey, we're out. Xbox is over. Get it everywhere. Whatever. What happens to those people that have 20 years of digital purchases and games and stuff? Are they just going to be locked in a couple of years?
The other thing you have to consider too is an Xbox is a far more media friendly device than a PlayStation is. Now,
100%.
PlayStation has all of these functionalities, and I can access YouTube and all that shit on there. But for some reason, the Xbox just feels more like a media device, and I think the reason is Windows, but it's it's just if I'm gonna watch Netflix or something, I typically just use my Xbox.
How weird is it that Sony are the people that own the Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray proper, like the format,
right?
But for me, that media plays better on an Xbox. Wow. And remember, the PS4 didn't play 4K. Well, the Xbox One X did.
And think about that. Think about this too. It's like Best Buy doesn't carry physical movies anymore.
No.
So what does Blu-ray even mean anymore?
Yeah, what is it? At this point, it doesn't matter. Right. So,
but yeah, it is interesting that the Xbox always had a better one.
It is.
I don't ever see them necessarily going away because I feel like they could remember, because the Xbox One was their attempt to double down at we are the one entertainment system you need in your house.
They tried to go in an entertainment direction that I think now a decade later would have worked a lot better.
Makes more sense now.
But at the time, we were not ready for that.
No, because everything wasn't streaming yet.
No. And then they were too focused on the near but far future that system.
But on the other side is, I think at most you get one more.
I think you get one more system. They're already talking about it, so they clearly have developed something.
Like, we know that this next one exists. Like they've already, it's already been talked about. But I could see a world where that's the last one, especially if it doesn't. If it doesn't pick up, they don't fix mistakes. It's dead. Whereas I feel like PlayStation, all they have to do is just keep the naming convention. The next one, just keep calling them 6, 7, and then when you get to 10, you can call it PSX for real and not refer to that weird one-off PlayStation X.
I agree.
And they have to keep as long as they just market it as a game system, that's what they need. And then Nintendo just hangs out in the background and does whatever the fuck they want, and it doesn't matter. I always thought
pretty much
there was, it's funny because for the longest time, I always thought Nintendo was closer to becoming Sega than Microsoft would be, just because Microsoft is Windows. It is Microsoft.
It's weird. Yeah, like it is a weird thing. And I always like, because they keep putting in the articles, like it's funny, like Microsoft, the $3 trillion company,
right?
Because they are a $3 trillion company. But it is weird to me.
They say that
if you would have told me
companies are good.
Like if you would have told me this,
Amazon's great.
Come on. If you would have told me 20 years ago that we were looking at a potential future where of these three companies, this was the one that might be going away or getting out or going third party, I would not have believed you.
I think in the beginning of during the Xbox, PS2, GameCube days, I think you could have made an argument that maybe Microsoft wasn't going to hang around. However, the GameCube, by the end of that generation, even though the GameCube is revered now and we all love it,
it was not.
It was not at the time, especially coming as someone who worked in a video game store while the three of those were there. Towards the end, PS2 was always number one by far, just because Xbox really started to pick up towards the end. Because you started to get like stuff that actually used it, like Splinter Cell, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Whereas the GameCube, it just really kind of tapered off at the end. And it was kind of like, man, if this next system doesn't hit, they're in trouble.
Well, the other thing too,
quote unquote, lucky that the Wii was the hottest selling thing.
The other thing too that I think helped the Xbox originally get to that number 2 spot before the 360 was Xbox Live. Because PS2, I mean, you could play some games online like Final Fantasy 11.
Made it a big deal.
Like Xbox made it a big deal,
and it was an event. Like the servers are going to turn on. Buy your kit. It comes with a headset.
And it was easy to get into something and talk to people. Yeah, it just worked if you use the service. 360, I think it becomes more clear now. 360, they captured lightning in a bottle.
They perfected it, right?
For that generation, like they really did.
It helped that they went up against a Nintendo system that was fun to play for families, but was not a game system.
No,
and it also helped that the PS3 for 3 years was
a shit show,
a disaster.
It was
That's the only way to describe
until
it.
They redesigned it.
As someone who worked there and was selling these 3 systems, PlayStation was a distant third. And by distant third, I mean it wasn't even people barely considered it when they would come in.
No, but
360s were gone immediately. Wii's you could never have.
No,
the PlayStations, man, they sat there forever. And
well, they had that. How long do you remember? I guess I don't remember this. How long was it out before they dropped the price of the PS3?
Long
from
time.
The 600.
It was a while. Remember the original thing that they did was stupid, where there was 20s and 60s, and then they said fuck those, and they made 40s and 80s. But then remember, one of the 80s was backwards, but it wasn't actually backwards; it was emulating backwards. And then they dumped that one. So like they just constantly kept changing the model.
Yeah. Until they got to that slim model, which is kind of where they perfected it.
It's either you use memory cards or you get one with a 20 gig hard drive. And then eventually you got a 60 gig hard drive. And
then a 120.
But remember, the thing about that was, you wanted a hard drive? You just take it off the top and you put it on there. And it's done.
Well, that was a cool thing back in the day. Like if you wanted to go to your friend's house and play Xbox, but you have all your saves, just slap the hard drive on.
Yeah. Crazy.
It was just like having a bigger memory card.
Whereas PlayStation, it was like, well, you can change the hard drive. We really don't want you to.
You can do it, yeah, but we don't want you to do that.
And it doesn't. And warning: if you put something else in some other system, it's got to be formatted.
And it did really feel like when that PS3 Slim model came out, it was almost like a relaunch of that system.
It was like a new system because the system just kind of worked. That one, it was easy to put a hard drive in, and it was like
because I never had the fat system. I jumped on when the Slim model came out.
I bought a 60 just because
I wanted a Blu-ray player.
I bought it a 60 for a Blu-ray player and the fact that I could play PS2 games.
Because I was a 360 person, we hedged our bets on HD DVD.
I waited to kind of see. I had a feeling that HD DVD was not going to win.
No, we bought a player, and then there was like some sort of deal where you could get a bunch of those HD DVDs for like a discount.
Yeah,
if you bought the player, so we had like 10 of those movies. Like they weren't bad. So, but it just obviously that format war was like a year, if that.
Yeah, even. It was not even close. It came. Didn't it come down to like basically Blu-ray was the one that got Disney. And it got.
I think it was Disney, and there was some other like really big movie.
Sony stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where it was just like, this is gonna win, and it really shouldn't bother. But like just Xbox. This presentation, after all this presentation that's coming up has to be real fucking good. It's got to put hard dates on things. And then they have to hit these hard dates. They have to say, avowed, October 12th, 2024.
Indiana Jones, December
6th, 2024. Fable, March 2025. They have to start locking stuff down, making sure it hits that day, and making sure it fucking works. Imagine a world where Indiana Jones comes out and it's 30 frames and we got to patch it. And it
wouldn't make sense because the trailer was 60 frames, but
what does that fucking mean? That was a trailer.
I know.
You can edit that in post to make it 60 frames because it doesn't have to be run in real time.
True, but I would be surprised still. But I can imagine a world where they fuck that up and it comes out at 30, but then, in 3 months when it comes to PS5, suddenly it's at 60.
Oh, God. Can you imagine that?
So, just another catastrophe.
I don't think necessarily it will just because it is machine games and...
No, they optimize their engine really well.
They've never had a problem. So they're in the shitter, man. Like, this is...
It's really bad.
It's as low as it's been since the Xbox One reveal.
For me, it's like I said in the last week or two, it's been me looking and going, well, I guess I'm just going to start buying everything for PS5 right now.
It's the safer bet.
It's the safer bet, yeah.
And if stuff starts coming out on both, it's really the correct choice, right?
It is right now. As I said, Crow Country, I was like, well, I looked at all three because I was like, I could get it on Steam, I could get it here, and then I was like, well, realistically, if I want to play this on a console, I guess it's PS5,
right?
So,
well, I've been talking about waiting for Indiana Jones for years, and that might have been what it got for me to buy a system.
Yeah,
but now
I would say
I'm gonna probably wait a little bit and see what happens.
Just see. The last part of this I'll put in there is that today, and this was an announcement today, that Activision has opened a new AAA studio called Elsewhere, which is weird. I mean, I think this obviously was something that was planned way before these other studio shutdowns, but it's just, again, Microsoft not really good with their timing.
That's a great name for a Call of Duty support studio in 4 years.
It is. Elsewhere. Where are you based?
We've decided to roll Elsewhere into the Call of Duty studio family.
Yeah, I could see that email already.
And they've never put out another game. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Oops.
In no shock, as we transition away from Xbox news, no shock, Sega wants to make more Persona games. Weird.
They make a lot of money.
Like, weird. We should probably. I looked at. They want to make it an annual franchise. I don't know if I need it to necessarily be annual, but
as
if you're
long
telling
as
me I get more Persona games,
as long as they're different games.
For it. Yeah,
I liked Strikers a lot. You could easily make a Strikers too.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Persona 6 has got to be close.
It has to be close, right? Like it.
Maybe
Persona 5 was 2017.
It's been reworked a couple times.
Yeah, they did the bigger edition of it, which I didn't play. But
I didn't do that either. But 6 has got to be
play
close.
The same story again.
Obviously, we just did the 3 remake.
Which I still need to play too.
Right. And then, like, obviously you can get away with doing the Ultimax fighting games if you want for a year.
If you wanted to,
but like they have options to do this stuff.
Well, and Shin Megami is thrown in there too.
Right.
So
they have tons of stuff they can do.
Yeah.
But yes, they make money. They have rabid, loyal fan bases.
They do.
And the games are all good.
That's the thing. They're all good and they're different
in their own way.
They're all good and they're all different enough. Like the Shin Megami mainline is much different than a mainline Persona game.
Right. And then I have Dynasty Warriors Persona. And I have a rhythm game Persona. And I have a fighting game Persona. And they're all good.
So
do it.
I'm all for it. In more studio shutdown and losses and stuff, this move actually benefits Microsoft though. Square Enix has decided to refocus their strategy, and they have denounced PS5 exclusivity. They are no longer going to do just exclusive games for a platform. They're going to be multi-platform only from now on. They did also do some layoffs in their restructuring, but obviously this means that future games like future Final Fantasies, I would imagine Dragon, which they mentioned in this article, Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest 12 is being worked on. They're not showing anything of it right now. I imagine that's a multi-platform game.
It is now.
Probably has been.
It probably has been, to be fair, but
The other one was. Yeah. So
well, it was after a certain amount of time, afterwards. But I think this is just going to be out of the gate. But stuff isn't hitting what they wanted to hit, and
16 didn't sell the number that they wanted it to, and unfortunately, Rebirth was even worse.
So how do we pump these numbers up? We give more people opportunities to buy it, and if they're smart, they really start to be like, we got to put this shit on PC like day one. Like
day one makes I think that's the biggest kicker there. Is how much better do you think Final Fantasy 16 would have done if it was out day one on PC?
Holy shit, man! Like
or Rebirth,
a lot. And can you imagine what 16 on PC would be like on like a high end PC?
Amazing,
unbelievable. I mean, it's great on PS5, but like, I think about what that could look like, and it's crazy.
And I think by the multi-platform thing, I think also on PC, because they did this for Remake for a while, no exclusive deals with Epic either. I think it's on I think, hey, day one, it's on Steam, it's on Epic, whatever storefront.
Just buy it.
Because that was the other dumb move with Remake, was they signed that deal with Epic to have it there for a year on PC.
It just needs to be everything's on everything, and we hope to bring the money in.
Exactly. Yeah. In the restructuring of PlayStation, they finally announced their new CEO, which is just two co-CEOs. One of them is Herman Holst, and the other one, I'm not going to pronounce his name, but somebody who's been there.
Do it.
Hideaki Nishino.
All right, close enough.
Okay, fair enough. Somebody who's been there for a while. So, and Herman Holst, I believe, wasn't he at the head of Guerrilla for a while?
Yeah, that's him, right?
Okay,
I think that's him.
So I don't know if co-CEOs is the smart route to go, but at this point, like, it would take a lot to fuck up the direction PlayStation is on right now.
I'm gonna guess a restructuring happens in a couple years, but
I do too.
Sony's already on this path, which a lot of people aren't necessarily happy about, because it's all games as a service, and for every Helldivers, there's 10 that don't work.
There's 10 foam stars.
There's 10 foam stars. Yeah, which is didn't they put out some foam stars? We're like, well, it's not doing so.
Well, great. Foam stars was part of the Square stuff, so they used that as an example as well, as that was another failure.
Yep.
But yeah, this
played it. Yes.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if co-CEOs is going to work, but the other thing I look at is, again, you'd have to really shoot yourself in the foot, 2006 style.
You'd have to do something real.
Here's the PS5 Pro. It's $900.
Yes,
or something dumb like that.
Something like that, or here's the PS5 Pro. It's $800, and there's no disc drive, and the separate one doesn't work for it. And the only headset that works is our proprietary one using PlayStation Link technology. And there's a lot they'd have to do to really.
There's a lot they'd really have to do.
This shit.
There is. Or just do another price hike of PlayStation Plus.
That would be something they could do that would sour a lot of people.
that is a more realistic thing that I could see them doing. That is a realistic thing
that could easily.
Hey, now it's $100 for a year.
Yeah.
So I could see them doing something stupid like that.
I equate that to being like your license plate registration for your car. It's like that price they set for that, because I just had to do mine. That price they set for that is arbitrary. They could come out tomorrow and be like, it's now $780. Or you can't drive your car.
It is. I have to do one of our cars this month too. So yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's just a number where it's like, you have to have it. So realistically, I can tell you, I could set a price and you have to pay it. And PlayStation Plus almost falls in that category of
almost does kind of.
You have to have it. So
if you want to play online, you do.
Why not be 100?
Yeah, I'm sure they've had that discussion at some point.
That number gets floated every time they talk about it, I'm sure. What's the limit?
Helldivers 2 is PlayStation's fastest selling game of all time now, with over 12 million sold in 12 weeks. It's 1 million a week.
How many of those 12 million were sold in 170 countries where the game is no longer available?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing I will point out too, because when that news broke the last time we recorded, we didn't have the full story.
That story is crazy as fuck.
It's crazy. It's a very dumb situation. The fact that it only took a day for them to resend that, which is not surprising, because they just were going to tank that game. Not surprised, but the thing that is shocking to me is that still as of today, at the time we're recording this, you can still not buy Helldivers 2 in those 170 countries.
I don't think it's coming back because they did it with Ghost of Tsushima. You are going to have to have a PlayStation account for that because it's not out. So they can force you to do that, and it's already not listed in those 170.
But again,
countries.
for the people that already bought in those countries, it doesn't matter because they don't have to make an account, right?
Right. No, I think you do.
You do. Okay.
Oh, for the people who have it and those
already own it. Yeah.
I don't know. You can't.
I would assume not because they came out and said we're not going to force this. So
true, but you still can't buy it there, and I don't think they'll ever turn it back on.
I don't think they will either if they're forcing it on Ghost of Tsushima.
Do you think? Do you think this is just like in 6 months they'll try again? Oh, hey, now that it's not available in those countries, and we kind of blah blah blah. And here's an update for the game that requires it.
Here's the answer I'll give you. If it was Sony under Jim Ryan's leadership, yes. I don't know what Herman Holst and the other guys' leadership looks like, so I don't know.
Here's the other.
But if it was Jim Ryan, absolutely.
Here's the other funny part about that 170 countries, and I don't know how this might have been a Photoshop thing. I would have to hope it is, but one of the countries in there was Japan.
That seems ridiculous.
That can't be real, right? Because if that's real, right? That can't be
really. I don't know.
That had to have been Photoshop, right?
It has to be.
But what if it isn't?
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
What I would tell you is that is crazy.
It's got to be Photoshop.
It has to be.
But I laughed at the thought that it was real.
So obviously Amazon, the Amazon, they have the huge hit with Fallout. Fallout's a huge hit. We've watched 3 episodes of it. We'll talk about it later. Yeah. Okay. So they are pressing full steam ahead on doing a Tomb Raider. They hired that Phoebe Waller-Bridges chick to write. I don't think she will play Laura
No.
Croft,
She's
gonna
just
write
like showrunner.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in it because of the direction it seems like they're trying to push that character with that board game. And I would tell you, it's one where I would wait and see.
I guess it's the kind of thing where, are we going to try to tie it to new Tomb Raider stuff?
Here's the question. Will she raid tombs or will she be a seeker of the truth?
That's what I'm saying. Like, are we going to try to tie it to new Tomb Raider stuff? In which case, that's a wait and see kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If we're going to try to if we want to tie it to previous Tomb Raider stuff, like even if we just go back to the last trilogy, then we have a really great shot of it being good.
We do.
So, this is an entire I'll wait for a trailer. Yeah. I'll wait to see what it looks like and who is. We got to be like
a while away. I think it sounds like she had written treatment for a pilot that they liked, so they picked it up for a full season.
Well, I mean, still got after Fallout, they're gonna snatch up as many of the stuff and things as they can.
Absolutely,
right?
100%.
You know what they really should do, and there's a way to do it. Make an Oblivion show, dude. Like
Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, just call it the Elder Scrolls.
It's weird considering how popular that Game of Thrones and fantasy stuff is. Maybe not so much the Rings of Power,
but this is this is like Fallout and Lord of the and Game of Thrones combined would be like a Skyrim.
I don't think Amazon would be the studio to do it, only because they have the Rings of Power and they also have the Wheel of Time show. Sure. So they might oversaturate that.
If we do it quickly, we can do Oblivion and get Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Be him.
Right. Yeah. I would love to. I mean, I would be all for them doing a Elder Scrolls TV show in the same vein as Fall. I think that would be amazing.
And what's really cool is they can easily make it an anthology show. Here's Morrowind.
They can.
Here's Oblivion.
All they got to do, all you got to do, people love the character, the ghoul, right?
Yeah.
Here's your idea for that, for Skyrim. Khajiit cat character.
Well, I think it'd be more like you'd have the Dragonborn.
Sold it.
And you'd have
the Dragonborn, but you put one of the main characters as a Khajiit cat.
Oh, you mean as someone who got traveled?
Like Walt Goggins. Yeah. Fuck it, get him. Walt Goggins as the Khajiit cat character.
No, he's not the kid.
He's the what's his name? Meekly the liar or whatever.
Yeah.
Have him be that guy.
You get him, and then you also get Lydia. And there you go. There's your team.
Okay.
And then Lydia always steps on traps in a dungeon.
I'll tell you, my fan casting for the Khajiit cat, Michael Shannon.
There you go.
That dude's fucking crazy.
Who would be the Dragonborn? Who could we do? Gotta be a ripped dude.
You know who I'd pick right now because they're pretty on point. And they did good in Dune. That Austin Butler guy played Elvis.
Oh, okay.
Was in Dune. He's a real good actor.
Make him the hero.
And he got ripped. He got ripped for Dune. So
fuck it, let's do it.
You can do it.
There you go.
Let's do it.
Greenlight, Amazon Greenlight.
There you go. Look at that. I've sold it to you. And again, you got Michael Shannon as a Khajiit cat.
All right, then Lydia. We could do. Who could we do for Lydia?
Anna de Armas.
Haley Steinfeld.
Okay, or that. That's fine. Oh, you know what? Lydia, that kind of reminds me of I was gonna say like Jenna Ortega. Do her?
No, I think you need someone more athletic.
Okay.
So Haley Steinfeld, I think, could do it.
Okay.
There you go. We did it.
We did it. We sold it. Call us up, one of these studios. We'll sell you the Elder Scrolls. You think
Fallout was popular? Skyrim would be huge.
Especially if you did or did elements of the Oblivion story and got Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm thinking. That's why it actually is probably smarter to do like an anthology series.
It is.
And do Morrowind's probably as far back as you could go. Realistically, you'd probably start.
They would start with Skyrim.
I think
you'd start with Skyrim.
I would say Oblivion and then Skyrim because that's the order a lot of people would have played them in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But God, you think Fallout was popular? Man, a Skyrim show, dude.
It would be ridiculous. Ridiculous.
It would be crazy.
I'm gonna put this in here only because there would be a game element to it as well. I thought this was just really weird, but the two entities that have been battling over the rights of Jason Voorhees for the last like decade,
long time,
have finally that whole thing is finally done. They've created this thing. They've created this banner called the Jason Universe, which is what. Yeah, it's whatever.
The number 1, V, the number 3, RS.
You like that, right?
Stupid. I love it.
I mean, it doesn't mean I'll finally get a new Friday the 13th movie. Thankfully, I'm bummed that the TV show that was being made with the guy that did the Hannibal TV show, he left that project, which sucks.
But
he's a really good writer.
But I think that there will be a TV show of this too. Like if.
They're still working on it. It's literally called Crystal Lake. No, they are not canceling the TV show, but that writer, that Brian Fuller, he left.
I thought I had read that he left and it was done.
That was what was originally reported, and then they came out and said, no, the show's still on. Okay. We're going to find somebody else. And I think a lot of it had to do with
part of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
they probably came to him and said, like, look, you've got to integrate it with all this other shit we're going to do.
And that was the thing was I think they came to him and said, hey, we need you to make X amount of changes to what you've written here.
It's got to be able to tie into other things we're doing.
Yeah. And he said, fuck no.
Yeah.
So I threw this in here for you, Matt, but I'm actually pretty excited about it too. Dave the Diver is getting a free update May 23rd. Godzilla DLC.
That's crazy.
Godzilla is coming to Dave the Diver.
Super stoked.
Super excited. We're going to talk about Godzilla in a little bit here. What's up?
Get Gamera in there.
There's more than just Godzilla.
Get them
all. And then finally I threw this in here, and this we kind of alluded to this earlier with some of the other talk, but they just revealed half of all PSN users are still playing on PS4.
Well,
so
they still make a lot of PS4 and PS5.
They still make, yeah. I was gonna say, Matt, you're raising your hand. You're still on PS4, but yeah. I mean, the other thing I'm gonna throw out here is we are 3.5 years, almost 4 years into this generation. There has still not been a price drop.
That's a big part of it,
and that's a big part of it. Like we're like, why hasn't there been one? Why can't these systems be 400 now? Like the chip shortage thing is years in the past. They could be.
Yeah, now you're running into
the Xbox Series X. I mean, to be fair, has hit that 400 price many times because it's on sale all the time, and there's all sorts of deals. But the PlayStation, I think I've seen on sale to 450 once.
I think maybe price drop time would be Nintendo
Christmas this year.
Switch 2.
Switch 2, yeah.
Nintendo really. Hey, Nintendo, we got the Switch 2 coming out. The Switch 2 will be $300, right? It's gonna be. But then that's when Sony goes, "Oh, we'll price drop the same day." That's a good time. But it just says not even that they're in competition with each other. That's just a fuck you move.
It is.
And who knows? Maybe our new dual CEOs love that kind of.
Maybe they'll flip some coins or something. Now, you put something in here, and I don't know any of the context to it. So before we get to movie stuff, I'll let you go off on this.
This is just something I wanted to put in here. I titled this segment "The GameStop Liar of the Week."
I love it. Right.
There was this like viral thing going around Twitter that a friend of mine sent me, and it's basically I'll just read it because I would like to read it and have you, Kyle, specifically, just because to point out everything that's wrong with what this person says.
And so Twitter is a hellscape, but
well, Twitter's a hellscape, and I don't normally go on it. But this was sent to me, and I had to read it, and I just was like, "Oh my god!"
I have to go on it more than I would like to. So
something out there posted a thing that says, "What experience in the workplace radicalized you?" Just like just start a Twitter topic for people to talk about. This person put. I was hired at GameStop as a manager specifically because of my knowledge on Nintendo and cozy games. I was the only employee at the store who helped parents, grandparents, and younger kids. I had the highest customer service rating in the entire county at nearly 100%. Corporate said I was needed to do better or I'd be let go. Why? Because I wasn't selling pre-orders as subscription services. Despite being a well-liked manager, I wasn't making the company extra money unless they put me on probation. I ended up quitting. Let's poke all the holes into this, shall we?
All right, hole number one, I'm going to poke. How the fuck would you even know a statistic like I was number one in the county? How would you even be able to drill that down?
Now, all right, so there were times where they would send out NPS reports, which is the thing, for every store in the district. So you could extrapolate knowing where your stores are in the county. That you were number one. However, number one simply means you were at 100% of this. This person also says that this was...
What year was this?
Yeah,
what time frame?
I want to say it was like 8 years ago. So it was a long time ago.
So at the time that we were there.
Yeah, right? It would have been when we were there. Or it might have even been longer. So we have a better frame of reference for this than some people do.
Than some other thing. But the other thing I throw out there is what, like...
I'm just going to break it down.
I remember the average GameStop customer, like how many families / mothers did you deal with versus, I don't know, the kids strung out on marijuana.
Well, here's
trading in their
what I want to say
weed-infested games for cash.
Part of this and why I claim that this person is lying to obviously inflate themselves. Number one, I was hired as a manager specifically because of my knowledge on Nintendo and cozy games. Absolute lie. I would never hire you specifically because you walked in and told me, I know Switch games and I know of farming games. That means nothing to me.
Is that what cozy games is?
I guess I would assume cozy games is chill indie vibe shit.
And shit like that.
Okay.
That's it. As a manager who hired a couple dozen people over my tenure at both of these locations, absolutely not. I understand that this job at the end of the day is a sales job. I don't give a shit what you know. You don't need to know a damn thing to work here.
I think you and I were on the same page, and the number one thing when it came to selling was all we care about is that you sell it all.
Right.
You cater, because obviously, as we've discussed in the past, we had one specific key holder who really only gravitated not just to one platform, but one specific handheld
the worst
system.
You could have picked.
Which is the worst thing that you could do. Whereas it's like, dude, I don't care. Even if you had a personal bias towards one system or another, I don't care. If you can get out there and sell, Xboxes to the Xbox person that's coming in or the PlayStation kid that's coming in buying the new PlayStation game, it doesn't matter.
What you're trying to help people buy is the thing that they are already interested in buying and are maybe on the fence about doing it.
And if it's Nintendo 8 years ago, pre-Switch, that wasn't that big of a deal.
No. That was
3DS. The Wii U era.
3DS was more popular.
Not the Wii U.
So I have a problem with saying that you were hired because of your game knowledge, because that to me is, especially if you were, they only say as a manager. They don't say as a store manager. My guess is this person was a third key.
Yeah, that sounds more accurate.
More likely. I could be wrong, but just the vibe I get off of it is a little different.
Maybe an ASL.
Maybe. But then, so here's the next line. I was the only employee at the store who helped parents, grandparents, and younger kids. You're telling me, out of everyone that worked at this store, when they saw a parent, a grandparent, or a younger kid come in, they just ignored them? They walked away? They walked to the back. They said, this person's got you. I'm sorry, I can't help you. That's bullshit. You do this because you think you're special. Like this person thinks they're special. Like I was a special GameStop. I was gifted as a GameStop employee because I knew Nintendo games.
Yeah.
The customer service rating in the entire county, that's bullshit because especially if they say at nearly 100%, as someone who's seen those reports multiple times over my life, there's always someone who is 100%. There's always multiple people who are 100%. I was 100% most of the time, and I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. But I know how to turn it off and on in a retail store.
Yeah.
I had plaques in the back that had my fucking name on it because I got 100%. Being 100%, not the gift to customers you think you are. I'm sure plenty of people who listen to this who work in a GameStop are 100% as well, and they hate people that shop at their store. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Corporate said they needed to do better. They'd be like, oh, why? Because I wasn't selling pre-orders or subscription services. So cards. So you're actively telling me that you weren't doing your job.
Yeah.
And then we're somehow confused when corporate, who expects you to do your job, said you needed to do better at your job. You actively admit that you didn't get pre-orders or cards. Then what are you doing here? Especially 8 years ago when pre-orders were easier and cards were easier and GPGs were easier, kind of a thing and warranties were a thing. But
warranties were a bigger thing then, but GPGs were pretty big at that time.
They would go in and out. Remember, there would be times where it was like up and down, up and down.
Pre-orders would have been the number one.
Pre-orders is always a thing. Cards was always a thing. And they were never that difficult. But you actively admit that you didn't do this and then are somehow confused when you got in trouble for not doing it.
Exactly.
And then despite being a well-liked manager, I wasn't making the company extra money. No, you weren't making the company money.
Any money.
Right, just money.
You make it maybe some
and then
money,
they put you on probation, which that happened to people. You'd get put on a PIP and just basically be like, I got to write you up. You got 30 days. We'll go over it again. And then I ended up quitting. You ended up quitting because you didn't want to do your job. And that's not saying that we don't talk to people on this podcast every 2 weeks and say, please quit your job, because you should.
Right.
But this is different because you claim to be incredible, but you made choices not to be.
Yeah.
Like
it's
GameStop is a sales job. It is not a hang out and sell video games job. It's not a hang out and just chat with the customers about Luigi's Mansion on 3DS. And I'm the best because little Billy, who's 8 years old, I'm the only person who would talk to little Billy. No. It's just insane. So, this person left in 2012. So we're talking before. We're talking the easiest day of all days, when there wasn't as much pressure, because that would have been right as I took over that store.
Yeah.
So we're talking Wii days.
360, PS3, and Wii.
We're talking Wii days where
tail end of Wii.
Right. So you were a specialist at Wii games. You think that got you the job?
In that era, when the Wii was kind of already on its way out for the Wii U, which nobody cared about.
Right. And the Wii was the kind of thing where, yeah, I guess that's the only reason you're talking about Nintendo games, because you only talk to parents, grandparents, and little kids.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Yeah. It's things like that where it's like, you can't just tell the truth, or maybe this person just doesn't accept the truth. I think that probably seems more likely, right? They seem to have a pretty high sense of who they are as an employee, but that's not realistic. Anyone who's worked at a GameStop who has a realistic view of the world is not like this person.
No, not at all.
Come on.
So I would say that's a good liar of the week.
That's a great GameStop liar of the week. If you find any other GameStop liars of the week,
there you go.
Please email them in and we'll happily read them, because this is bullshit. But I was nearly 100. And if we're going back to 2012 for NPS was a joke. Circle the survey. You know how many people cheated at surveys? There's no way you were. God. There's no way you were number one, because so many people fucking cheated. Take the survey yourself. Oops, that person forgot their receipt. My bad.
Whoops.
Type.
There a brief period? Wasn't there a brief period of time where we were told, and this was maybe a 3-month period, where we had to try and give the iPad to the customer and have them take the survey in the store?
Survey in the store. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
I don't think we ever pushed that on a single customer, unless the
All I ever asked about surveys from you guys was just circle it. I don't even care if you say it to them. Just circle it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then only say it to people you're going to get 100% from, or our best customers, or if your friend bought something. Right.
Yeah.
Do me a favor, take a survey. Okay.
Well, we can kick over to movies, which is what I have a lot more to say on.
I'm gonna take a nap while you talk about all these.
You can take a nap.
Yeah.
Well, I talk about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, no. So Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth movie in this new franchise, and it does follow the other ones. Although you don't have to have seen the other three. They catch you up in the first 5 minutes.
That's interesting.
So, yeah, that movie opens with obviously, I mean, spoiler, your buddy Caesar dies at the end of the third one.
Oh no!
This one opens with his quote unquote funeral, and then they literally show his funeral for about 30 seconds, and then they go many generations later. So, This one takes place years later into the future. I will say that from the trailers for this movie were very well crafted, because there is a really good twist in this movie that is not shown in the trailers.
Okay, I like when movies do that.
And what I like about this movie even more is that it is set up for a even more intriguing sequel at the end of it, which I do not want to spoil the secrets of it, because I think that's one of the best parts of the movie. It does follow a completely different ape. So it's not like I'm sure he is somewhat a descendant of Caesar, but he's a completely different ape. He has his own tribe of apes, and their big thing is I was into this, but I can see some people not being into this. Their tribe specifically, they train and utilize eagles.
Okay.
And I thought that was pretty cool. Right. But there is another rival tribe that is much bigger, with the main villain. His name is Proximus Caesar.
Okay.
Because he has taken the learning, the texts and the stuff from Caesar, what Caesar passed on. Because the whole point of Caesar was, by the end of those first three movies, was, hey, we shouldn't be evil to humanity. We should be nice to them. We should work together. And they've kind of lost their way over the generations of him being dead. So this guy has taken and kind of twisted those words. And in this world, they don't know that Caesar was, I guess, a good guy. And after what happens in the movie, because basically that tribe is attacked, and then the main ape, he has to kind of go on a journey to find the remnants of his tribe, the people that were taken, because they're basically taken and they're put into like an encampment for the other tribe that's like the main tribe with the bad guy. On his journeys, he does learn that, like, oh no, the teachings from Caesar were actually not meant to be a hatred for humanity, but to work with them. And there's also a human girl that is a big part of it, which, again, I don't want to give the twist away, because I think the twist is very well done here. And again, not shown in the trailers. They play it a completely different way in the trailer than what happens. I also say, like, you don't really see any of the third act in the trailers of this movie, which is cool too. So I also think it's funny, the actor William H. Macy is in this for like 5 minutes. He shows up. He is brought in as quickly as he is taken out, is what I would tell you.
Interesting.
And it was one of those, I'm like, you kind of could have got anybody to play that. I don't know if he just was like, hey, I want to be part of this franchise. But I ended up giving an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I like those other ones a lot. I don't think it is as strong as the previous movie. I think that one kind of went a next level. That movie was also incredibly dark. This is not nearly as dark, but I'm very excited to see them make good on what they set up for another movie.
Okay.
So also the theater I went to was another sold out showing for this movie.
Interesting.
There were people mad in the lobby because they could not get seats together.
Wow.
So that was funny. I then saw on the next evening, we went over and visited my girlfriend's dad, and he wanted to watch something on Netflix, and we watched. I've not seen this movie. I remember when it came out. I wanted to see it. I've had it sitting around for a while. Bullet Train with Brad Pitt.
It's one of those things where it's like I know I want to watch it. I just never have.
Really good. Really, really good. it reminded me of the most is like those movies from like the mid 2000s, like Smokin' Aces, and Lucky Number 11. It's one of those types. Like it's a very big action comedy. There's just great action in it. Brad Pitt he's fantastic in it. His character, because he plays that like comedic asshole type character that you like, that you would like for this type of movie. The other thing I thought that was interesting, we already mentioned him once. We're going to mention him twice in this podcast. Michael Shannon shows up in this movie. I won't tell you who he plays, but he's not in it very briefly, but he is great in the role that he's in. And there is one other fantastic cameo. I won't spoil it. You will know what it is when you watch it. It is a prominent actor, and you will be surprised at his brief cameo.
Okay.
It's very funny. So really enjoyed that. Abigail. I finally sat down and watched Abigail, which is the...
Is that the vampire one?
Yeah, okay. So she is the daughter of a I thought, when I went into the movie, I thought it was supposed to be Dracula's daughter. I don't think it is Dracula. They say the vampire's name. I couldn't remember what it is. It's not Dracula. Yeah. But it's what I would tell you is it's fine. It's incredibly forgettable. It's from the people that did that movie from a couple years ago called Ready or Not.
I remember that one,
which was the bride one. Yeah, it's at the same level of that. I don't know what it is about these writer directors that did both these movies, but they have like a fascination with exploding bodies.
Okay.
So when vampires get staked in this movie, they fucking explode.
Cool.
Kind of like what happens in Ready or Not. So like, I don't know why they're a fascination, but it's one of those movies where like, I did not hate it as I watched it, but like the minute it was over, I completely forgot about it. So it's not horrible, but it's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen. I think I was like 7 out of 10 on that. And then we'll talk about the big movie I've been waiting to see. Obviously, my movie of the year last year was Godzilla -1. I wanted to see what they did with Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, which is now out on digital. I eagerly awaited this to be dropped this past week because it came out on digital on Tuesday. I actually sat in my office and watched it while I was playing Supermarket Simulator. So I got a chance to use the soundbar I have in the office, which I will say it's an extremely loud movie. It is incredibly fucking stupid. My favorite part of it, my favorite part of the entire movie, and this will tell you exactly everything you need to know about this movie. My big reason for watching is I want to know, why is Godzilla pink?
Right, of course.
Why is he pink now? Okay. The reason he's pink, the real reason is he absorbs more radiation to take on which we'll get to what the villain is, to take on the villain here, the threat. There is a shot in this movie when he is absorbing that radiation. There are guys watching this happen on a computer screen, because they have these people talking like, what's Godzilla doing right now? They have this whole crew of like this team that's watching. They watch these Titans, and make sure like, what are they doing next? On top of Godzilla, they have a video game progress bar that charges up as his radiation is charging. And when it gets done, it literally says Godzilla power level X2. And I laughed out loud and thought that was both the greatest thing and the worst thing. And then obviously Kong gets a gauntlet, so the whole point of this movie, it's really fucking stupid. And if you don't want to know, I'm going to spoil a chunk of it because it is incredibly dumb, but I think it is fun and it is worth watching. It is better than all of the other ones. I'd say it is the best movie they've made since the original Godzilla in this series, which I don't think was ever meant to get this far. I think they originally just were like, we're going to make a Godzilla movie. And then the original Kong. Because I think after that, these movies have been pretty bad. This one, I think, even though there are some scenes that have really bad CG, really, really bad CG, the baby Kong especially looks really bad. It's silly enough that it's worth watching. So, the whole reason the reason this movie starts out is Kong is sad because he can't find anybody else like him. And he's hanging out in Hollow Earth because that's a thing in this franchise. Which I'm not, if you don't know what that, I'm not going to get into that because that's ridiculous, but he's hanging out in Hollow Earth. The whole reason for him coming back up to the mainland is he has a toothache.
Oh yeah, I mean,
so he comes up. They bring in this dentist guy, or I should say vet. They bring in this vet. They pop out his tooth, put in a fake one. That's an important part to remember for this movie, by the way. That comes in later. So he gets a fake tooth. And then they start getting these signals from Hollow Earth, like, well, maybe there's something else down there. So they end up going. They have your human characters in this movie. They matter even less in this one somehow. But at the same time, they're also more obnoxious than the previous movies. And they don't really have anybody of note. Like, there's no Millie Bob Brown in this movie or anything like that. Mm-hmm. The days of having, like, more well-known actors in this Godzilla franchise are over. So we have these other characters. They go down to Hollow Earth to find out what Khan's looking for. He ends up finding Baby Khan, following Baby Khan for a little while until Baby Khan leads him back to a whole tribe hidden in a Hollow Earth of other apes, led by what I can only tell you is a weaker monkey who has a chain around him that he can swing around that has like an ice power at the end of it so he can freeze stuff. But he has also harnessed the power of another Titan that I can only describe as a mini Godzilla that shoots ice.
Sure.
So they fight because Khan doesn't like that his tribe of people are being enslaved by this monkey. The monkey's name, by the way, is Scar King. That's literally his name is Scar King. They fight. He makes fun of his tooth because that's that's why that comes in. That's the first thing he sees his fake tooth in Khan, and he chuckles at it. Again, keep in mind, like these are apes. They don't have any dialogue with each other, so that's part of the movie you're watching is they kind of grunt at each other and laugh and stuff. They fight. He freezes Khan's hand, which is when then all of a sudden out of nowhere, these human people are like, well, we have something to help him. And they literally it's called like Project Powerhouse or something. And they shoot down this little thing. And it's like, they perfectly made this gauntlet for him to wear. When he puts on the gauntlet and he starts punching with it, it makes Transformers noises.
Awesome.
Literally, like, awesome. Like it's insane. And then he has to go up to Earth and convince Godzilla to help fight with him. So they have, I'm not kidding. What I can describe to you how he gets Godzilla on his side. This is what happens. Godzilla comes charging at him. They're fighting it by the Egyptian pyramids when this is happening, by the way. This is what Khan does. He does the Kevin Costner Man of Steel. No, stop. Like this. And Godzilla charges him, and then he punches him with the gauntlet. And then to stop it, and this is the key, to get them to fight with each other, which I think is hilarious because they CG'd this out of the trailer. There's a shot in the trailer for this movie where they show Khan and Godzilla side by side, and they CG'd out the third character because the third character is Mothra.
Oh, interesting.
Mothra is brought back as a hero here and comes in and goes, oh, you guys should be friendly, and like shoots out the little rays of like whatever. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we should fucking fight together. When they fight in this movie, at one point they're fighting in zero gravity. Like everything about this movie is the most preposterous, like stupid shit you will ever see. But somehow when it was all said and done, I enjoyed it more than the other ones. There's also a lot of rad synthwave music in this movie. It's really weird. Like it's like they turned Godzilla pink and we're like, man, we really like neon in like the 80s. So let's lean into that. Like it's really weird. But it's not horrible. So it just don't go into it looking for the Academy Award winning experience of -1. It's not that. And I think I said in the review that I put out on the channel, if you can turn your brain off for the almost 2 hours this movie is, you can find enjoyment with it. I gave it a 7 out of 10. So It's ridiculous. So, but yeah, I watched a lot of movies in the last 2 weeks. So I will kick it over to you, Dan, because you have some stuff.
So I finished 2 things I was in the middle of watching because one of them finally finished. The other one I just finally got around to doing. So number 1 is I finished X-Men 97.
I know about what happens at the end, but I haven't watched any of it. So
I will say it ends on a I don't want to say cliffhanger, but it sets up season 2.
We know season 2's happening.
Yeah, it sets it up pretty damn well, which is cool. This is a show that I thought originally, like as it started, I thought it was kind of slow and I thought it was kind of boring.
Okay.
I still maintain throughout all of it that the voice acting is pretty bad, and I get that they were going for like a let's get the people who did it originally kind of thing. You should have updated it. Like, there's no reason that we needed to drag all these people back. Rogue sounds terrible. I
think that's the one I've heard had the most complaints. Just awful. To be fair,
her voice sounds off. The cadence sounds off. Everything about it's off. Again, some of it sounds like it was added later. Like it was just like the audio levels are weird. But the story of it is very good as it gets moving. What they really do is they really cram in a lot. Well, not a lot, but like they take a lot of big storylines from the comics and kind of make them all into this one thing for one season. And it seems like a lot until it gets to the end, and then it really does kind of end well.
Would you also say it's a kind of situation where, like, because it seems like, and I haven't watched any of it yet, but it seems like this is more geared towards being a little more adult because it is meant for the people that grew up watching that.
It is meant for people who watched the original. I would not argue
young kids today.
No, people die. Like, there's a lot more mature situations and stuff that are happening. There are characters that are permanently gone now. Which, in an X-Men universe, that's never really the case, but like a couple of them for sure are dead. I really liked it towards the end. There's some stuff they do that I didn't really give a shit about, and it does kind of wrap itself up a little too quickly considering the scope of what is happening at the end of this.
Yeah.
But it's really good. And you do get, this isn't really a spoiler because I think a lot of people have seen it, but like you do get a lot of cameos from a lot of other Marvel superheroes. Some of which talk, some of which don't. You just get like a 4-second thing of, and the one that's been spoiled, and I'll spoil it now, just, Spider-Man shows up for like 3 seconds. He like swings and he lands. No, he does not. But with how popular this is, and the fact that it's getting a second season and like it did so well, please give me Spider-Man like 98.
98, yeah.
Which is a little weird because it's years after the Spider-Man cartoon would have ended because X-Men lasted longer. So we could fill in what kind of happened in between. Because I think I talked about it on the podcast. I know I've told it to you before, but the Spider-Man cartoon ends on a wild cliffhanger.
Yeah,
where him and Madam Web are going to go searching across dimensions for Mary Jane. I would like if that comes back. That does need to be addressed because why is he back?
You couldn't bring it back without addressing that.
So we could get that as a story, like a flashback story, or what he's been doing for 4 years, and then do some more stuff. But I think for as popular as this is, I think that would be just as popular for that to come back. That'd be a huge move on their part.
It would make sense. It wouldn't make sense to me for them not to do it at this point.
I think what would be even cooler is, again, not a spoiler since it doesn't really affect the story at all, but you see Daredevil at 1.2.
That's cool.
So what if Spider-Man 98 is Spider-Man and Daredevil? And it's the two of them hanging out doing stuff. And like, we have an excuse to have both of them in there. Now we can, and then since it's for adults and it's for people who watch the original cartoon, then we make Black Cat in this and make her a heavy focus because they have love triangle stuff in the comics between the three of them all the time. So I think there's a story you could tell with those three characters that would be very interesting, like street level New York type stuff
for sure.
But yeah, overall very good. If you ever watch the original, you need to watch this just because it is the next level of that stuff. There's a little bit of confusion, I would argue, where some of the episodes are like cut in half across episodes. So you don't get the full story like in a row, but then it all comes together at the end. It's a weird pacing issue, but it's overall it's fine. And then I did finish Fallout yesterday. That show is incredible. 10 out of 10 incredible. It's as it goes,
even the way it ends.
Yes, because it ends on a cliffhanger, and it ends on a setup for season 2, and it is what you want it to be. It is, even as it goes on, it is just I'm still amazed at how much it feels like Fallout. And I know that's dumb to say about a show called Fallout set in a Fallout universe.
Yeah.
But it really just, it is Fallout. Like it would have been so easy to fuck up, right? It would have been incredibly easy to make mistakes.
That's the thing that you're always looking for with any video game adaptation, right. Be it a movie, Halo. Be it a TV show. Yeah, like exactly. Like don't compare.
This just feels like it is in this universe, and it is another story that is running at the same time as these other stories. They all tie together. They make references to other vaults. You get a proper amount of like what happened before the bombs and what happened after the bombs and what happened in between the bomb and her leaving the vault. And it does go for some twists in like the last 2 episodes, which if you're paying attention, I feel like you could get it. Because there was one that I was like, I bet this is what this is. And then it happened. And I'm like, that's still it's still good. And things, and the twist has a payoff that leads to the next season. I will say the only thing I don't like about the show, and it's a minor complaint just because everything fucking does this, but there's a forced like romance subplot, which I guess kind of makes sense, but it's not something I need. It's not something the show needs. Where
which characters are you talking about? It's her
and the guy and the guy who plays the knight. It's her and the Brotherhood guy.
Oh, okay.
There's like a forced thing where like they're not like forced to team up, but they decide to team up, and then it becomes they get into shit together and get out of it together, but and then it just kind of leads to like this.
That weird, does seem kind of weird.
I care so much about you kind of thing when all of this has happened over the course of like a week.
It's a little weird for those 2 characters. So
I get it, and I don't, and I just I hope they drop it. I hope it doesn't need to continue. It kind of is a point at the end of the game where because of it something happened, or the show. Because of it, something happens and they kind of move on. But I love everything about it. Like,
we're watching more of it this weekend.
It's just so good. Like at one point they end up. This isn't a big spoiler, but they end up in another vault, and like you kind of get to see what another one is. You get cool explanations for like how the vaults were formed and all this other stuff, and like what really happened to essentially set the events of the entire Fallout universe as you know it in action.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's really cool. And then the final shot is good because it's just you have to know the games to get it, but when you see it, you're just like, okay, I'm in. Kind of a thing.
All right.
Very, very good show.
Interesting.
Probably the best video game adaptation thing I've seen
in a while.
Ever.
Since Silent Hill, though.
Oh, wow. It's tough to pick something that would be better. Like, the 3 of us love the Mario movie, but I feel like this is better.
Yeah, but again, like, and that's the thing I would say. Like, when I think of video game adaptations, like, I'll think of something like Resident Evil. But Resident Evil, the movies, they're just using characters from that.
Yeah,
it doesn't really feel like it's Resident Evil.
The second one gets close to it.
Yeah, and then they really get away from it. Whereas I would argue Silent Hill, at least that first movie, really captured the feeling of those games.
And this Fallout show is not an adaptation of any of the games, but it's
its own thing, but it's set very well.
But it is an adaptation of the universe, and like it is something you could fully believe happens in this world. So
absolutely
great show, fantastic show. Everyone should watch, even if you're not a fan of the games. It's still an incredible watch because they give you enough information to understand it all.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I've definitely seen people that have maybe not played the games watch this and be interested now to play the games. So,
what
about you, Matt?
I watched Abigail as well. I kind of feel the same way you did. The characters, the movie.
None of the characters are good people either.
They don't stand out to me.
No,
like there's not one character that was like, oh yeah, okay, that's a good. No, it was I guess if I had to pick one, Abigail stood out the most. I think she did very well.
I think that the actress that played her did a very good job because there are certain scenes where you have to for playing a young vampire like that, because you have to remember, like I go back to like Interview with the Vampire, you think about like Kirsten Dunst playing at that age, playing a vampire who's been trapped in that body for 300 however many years. So you have to think that they have more of a developed brain, more of an adult than they are, because they look like a child. And I think that little actress that played Abigail did a really good job of making it feel like that. So that would be like the one stand I would say.
Yeah. I will say the one scene that I really enjoyed was, I don't even remember their names. It was when the blonde girl and the big bulky guy were like looking for the Abigail thing, and like Abigail took over her and they were like dancing kind of like,
oh yeah, because she bit her. Yeah,
I thought that was really a wicked how they did that.
Okay.
But as far as the movie goes, yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10.
It's enjoyable at the time you watch it, but it's extremely forgettable.
It's not like it's something I'm definitely going to go out and buy, because
it's not like when I look at the shelf of horror movies that I go like, oh, this is something I'd like to watch again. It's not in that category.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it was I mean, if you want to give it a watch, give it a watch. It's not horrible, but it's just not something you're going to be like, I definitely need to rewatch this over again. The other thing I jumped into was Monkey Man. I didn't really know what it was about, honestly. The trailer, from what I saw, didn't really stand out to me when I saw it. But I decided to watch it because I was like, you know what, let's just see what it's about. Dude, the movie is great. Like, it really is fantastic. I can't remember the actor, like the lead actor, but I think
like he did Dave Patel or something like that. I think his name is.
He did a very good job in the role he was given. I think the pacing of the movie was very well done, because, like, in the beginning, you already know what he's trying to do.
Okay.
Like, they kind of just give it to you, and then after events happen, then, you have kind of like his revenge arc where he's like, trying to retrain himself and stuff like that. And that was done really well. But the last 20 minutes of the movie, fucking wild, man. Like John Wick style wild. Like, it was just, it was really over the top, but like not like horribly done either.
All right.
Fight scenes were really good. He's somebody I definitely want to put on my radar as stuff Fair. I will watch if he's into it, because he did a very good job.
I got a short list going of movies to watch, because my girlfriend's gonna be gone in a couple weeks. She's gonna be gone for a weekend in a couple weeks here, of movies that she's not interested in. That's one that's on that list.
Yeah, it's definitely a good watch. I definitely will agree with that. And then I didn't put this on there, but when we were talking about TV shows, I did finish a series. I finished Ted Lasso. I don't know how many people watch it.
I've never watched any of it, but Dan has.
Fantastic show.
Dude, I was so sad. Like, I was not expecting the third season to go the way it went, and I was very unhappy with the end result. But it's a
phenomenal show. Like, it's incredible. Yeah. Like, it's well acted. Like, you actually give a shit about everyone. Like, it's odd to think that, like, especially when you start that show, the one Jamie Tart, the one soccer player who seems like a dick, is one of the best characters by the end of that show.
Yeah,
it's so weird how.
It's funny too, because like the way that another one that stands out to me is Trent Krem.
Yeah,
and how they treated him, and then all of a sudden by the end he was like.
It's like part of the team.
He was just there. Exactly.
But like, he's a character you hate in the beginning, and then they do a really good job of like explaining him and his motivations and stuff, and it's phenomenal. Like, that show is one of the best like made things on television in the last like 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, and I can say Jason Sudeikis played that role incredibly well. Like.
And it's funny because I think what's funny too, because I think if you go into that show in the beginning and you think it's something, but it becomes completely something else as it goes on. Sure. Like, you think he's just like this weird, wacky guy who's gonna coach his soccer team and whatever. No, that's not. I mean, it is, but like there's so much more to it that it kind of falls behind, and you think about him in a much different way as it goes on.
Interesting.
And even with like very small characters, they kind of you care about them by the end of that. Like the one that really stands out is in episode 3 when the lady who owns the team, I forgot her name, Rebecca, meets that one dude from the houseboat.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Dude, he was only in one episode.
That's great.
But like by the end of the episode, I was like invested in his story. Like whoever wrote that fucking show did a fantastic job with picking out each person, like who plays what role and exactly how they got to where they got, because it's fantastic.
I think when I went into it originally, I thought it was going to be more of a comedy, and then it's really a dramedy. Like it has really funny parts in certain parts, and like the conversations they have when they're just shooting the shit, like in the office, are hilarious. But like, it's a lot of it's very sad. Like a lot of people go through a lot of hard shit in that show, and it's crazy, but it's very good.
Very good. I would definitely say if you got the opportunity, it's only 3 seasons, but it's a very well done 3 seasons. And that's it. That's all for me.
Yeah, I mean, next time we record, I'll be able to talk about Furiosa. I got tickets for that already. And then I'm crossing my fingers and hoping, because I've seen so many mixed reviews on it. I want to see, and I'm sure it'll be up really fast on digital because I don't think it's going to do very well. The Strangers Chapter 1.
Oh yeah,
because I love the original Strangers, one of my favorite movies from that decade. I don't think we need a new one, and I don't think it needs to be 3
weird, creepy
movies.
Stuff.
But I really like that original movie, so I want to see like what does a remake of that offer. Yeah. So I'm very intrigued to see it, but my expectations on it are very low. So we can kick over to the rest of the emails we have. I split these up into 2 categories because I put out a call last week on to have people write into us about achievements, like maybe what broke you on achievements or trophies, and we have a bunch of those to go through, so we will go through those, but I'm gonna go through the regular emails first. First email we have comes to us from Grant from Redacted. Hey guys, I was recommended this show a while ago by another friend of mine in the business, and I wanted to reach, I liked how you wrote in the business.
Yeah.
And I wanted to reach out for some advice. I'm very close to being terminated for performance, and it's really starting to bring me down mentally. Like, I know the axe is coming, and I want to stay until they term me so I get unemployment, but I feel like they are just dragging me out to get me to quit. What do you think I should do? For context, the only thing I've done wrong, I'd have very bad numbers as a store leader for the last few months. I can't help it that people don't want to reserve something we may or may not get day one.
Yeah.
Which I can understand that from some of the other emails we've gotten recently.
Yeah, and especially just the way things are now. Like, that's just, it was bad when we were there, and it's 10 times worse now. But
I mean, you rarely ever see people get fired. I mean, now a little bit more, but you remember what it took to get the one person out.
Yeah, I mean, it took he was essentially fired for performance, and that took me forever to do. So
it took a year.
They definitely do play the game of trying to get you to quit. It's harder when you're a store leader because, if you're at the time a GA or whatever, all of a sudden you just don't work anymore. They really can't do that with you.
As a store leader.
Yeah, as a store leader. I mean, the way they would do it is, they'd put you on a PIP, like a performance improvement plan. And then, you'd have to check in on that. And then there'd be another follow up. And it takes 3 of those to get anything done. I mean, if you really want to stick around to get your unemployment, I would say just keep doing what you're doing. Like, if they're going to fire you, they're going to fire you. And realistically, it's the kind of thing where if you can't get your numbers up, and hey, I know we talked about the liar of the week before complaining about they got fired for numbers, but they actively didn't seem to care. They thought of that as a joke that they would be expected to do that. Grant at least seems to understand that yes, numbers are important, but lives in the real world where they're not feasible anymore. Especially with cards being more expensive and all this other shit. My advice to you would be, like, if they're going to fire you, they're going to do it. If they really want to, plans are already in place, and you really can't stop them. Even if you have a good 2 weeks, it's not going to stop. Do keep doing what you're doing. Forget about the stress and start applying. Take your next day off. Let's say you've got your next day off and you've got 3 hours you can set aside. Get on the computer. If you don't have your resume, or if you haven't updated it in a long time,
obviously update it.
Get that ready to go. Make that day one. Don't even pressure yourself to get it all done in one day. Don't do that. Take some time out of your day. Make the resume. Remember, you're a store leader. You do everything. You do everything by yourself. Put everything in there. Get that done. The next day, you come home from work. You hop on Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever you want to go. You send out 10. You know what I mean? Like, just do it.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't have to look for GameStop retail. You don't have to do that. Kyle and I went to call center. I mean, it was a call center. It was a call center, but we went to support, like tech support stuff.
Tech support.
And then, Kyle now does work from home for a different company. So you don't have to be the guy who you just apply at Best Buy and Target and Walmart and hope one of those three needs you for the time being, because then that's at best a lateral move, and realistically maybe somewhat down.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of GameStop and for me it led me to go down the tech support path. I mean, I'm still doing tech support. It's just different than what it was when at the company you and I were at. Right. But I would argue much better.
Yes.
So today,
from everything you told me, yes, it is far different. I do something else, but it's not. It's a family thing, so it's another kind of thing. But if you have friends who used to be other managers and they've moved on, what are they doing? Did they have opportunities?
Yeah.
Remember, your network is not just online network. It's people that went to different things. Like, I know people that work at Comcast. I know, you know what I mean? Like, there's just, and I could reach out and be like, hey, what's going on, kind of a thing, if I really needed it. But that's what I would do, is like, you're going to put more pressure on yourself at a time where you're already assuming you're going to be fired, and you're just going to make yourself crazy. Take a breath,
for sure.
And not that you care anymore, because you clearly are either want to get out. Just do the minimum. Ask, hey, do you want to reserve anything today? Hey, would you like to renew your card today? No? Okay, have a good one. Kind of thing. Yeah. Just don't let it get to you anymore, because we all spent a lot of time letting that job get to us. Even
for sure.
Even when Cal and I worked there in the quote unquote better times, there were days where I would just be like, I cannot take it right now. And I would have like almost have a fucking breakdown, and just over nothing, because other than the stupid pressure of that place. So, use your time wisely, make your resume, and just 5 a night, 10 a night. Just give it a shot, man. Yeah. And then if you do get fired for performance, you'll get unemployment. It's almost impossible to not get unemployment, depending on where you live, to be fair. Like, the guy we fired for being absolutely fucking terrible at his job, and essentially he got unemployment, even though we fought it pretty hard. He still got it. So,
he still got it. Yeah.
It's hard not to. You would probably have to be actively stealing from that place to
not get it. Exactly.
But also just keep in mind, like, it's only a good thing that you won't work at GameStop anymore.
Yeah.
It'll be better.
For sure. Next email we have comes from Reynold from Redacted. Hey guys, GameStop manager here. Just wanted to vent on my district facing outrageous goals on the credit card. I've already done my research, and I know it's just my district leader who's artificially pushing higher numbers to make himself look better, but there's nothing I can do. He wants us all, as in every store in my district, to get 2 cards a day. It's fucking impossible. And when you don't hit that goal, he calls the next day to chew out whoever has opened. Hell, he's already spent an afternoon here watching our process, he put that in quotations, of selling the card and offering his critiques. I'm losing it over this, guys. I would just throw in there what we just said to Grant, which is get out. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, this is an even harder topic to broach than like just getting reserves or power up cards. Like at least those make sense for average customers, right?
The credit card thing.
Remember, they weren't going to track it. We're not going to track it.
Oh, they said that. Yeah. Well, we're not going to track it. They track everything.
If it can be, it is.
Yes.
What kills me about this, and this is, you know, our DL would do this to us all the fucking time. I'm just going to come in and observe. Like, fuck off. Why don't you sell a credit card to the next guy that walks in here?
You remember, I mean, I've told the famous story before, but you remember when it was the iDevice thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he came in and watched me the one day that I had the fever and the flu. I came in. I think I came in as a favor to you or something to open.
I told you, like,
and then somebody else came in
or something.
Yeah, because I was really sick. And then of course I opened, and then that dude, he shows up, and I'm like, oh great. And then the one person that walks in, because of course it was a dead day, because it was always dead in the mornings. The one person that walks in is someone that you and I both know will never buy an iDevice. And I had to shittily pitch that, and then he was put down that my pitch was not wholehearted or something.
Who had to decide between video games or paying to do his laundry.
Exactly.
With his quarters. That was a real thing. He would sit there, he would stand there at the counter with his girlfriend, and they would have discussions about, should we buy a video game, buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's, or do our laundry? And they would have quarters in their hands and be like, that's not a discussion.
And they didn't smell very well either.
Yeah, so you could tell laundry wasn't the choice.
Yeah, laundry was never
the choice. But
especially because they walked across our big parking lot.
The thing was always like, why don't you sell the credit card then, man? Next person that comes in, how about you show me how to do it? How about
because he would do the same thing where
how to get 2 credit cards right now.
He would do the same thing where he would come in, and then he'd gloat about how I can log into any register and blah blah blah, and you'd never see it
because he can't.
Because he can't, and then the minute it would get busy, it'd be the same thing every time. Oh, I got to get out of here.
Our LP guy used to pretend like he could help customers. We always have to. We'd have to like all but push him out of the way to get him to stop. Like anyone above a store level has no fucking clue how to talk to a customer about anything, because they think it's all some kind of joke or a game where everything's just so easy. Oh, yeah. How about I set you up with a used system, a warranty, 3 games, GPGs, you can reserve. That's not how the world works.
Right.
I don't get it. There's not a scenario where I would believe that a DL could ever sell a credit card to any customer.
No, I agree with you 100% there. No. Put them on the spot, they're never going to sell one.
No, it's impossible. And then they'll make up some excuse about, well, you know, but you see what I did there. I really talked about the benefits and what are the benefits?
They're leaving. They're leaving, but they're thinking about it.
Do you have a credit card for GameStop? No? Why not? What part of the card do you not like? Is it the interest rate? It's probably the 32% interest rate, right?
Yeah. Is that your favorite part about the credit card?
Or is it that you're going to get approved for $250 after we do a hard credit check and check your 450 credit score?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
yeah. Ugh, those the worst days ever. When they're just hanging out.
I wouldn't let it drag you down though if you know for a fact that it is an artificial number, and I'm sure it is.
Right, because he wants to make himself look better. Look at what my team is doing. He'll remember.
I don't know why in 2024, under the leadership of Chewy, of all people, you would want to make yourself look better. But hey, whatever.
Well, the thing is this credit card's going to disappear in like a year again. But
does it make it through this holiday?
Yeah, it does. It'll last for a holiday. But I'll keep getting fucking emails about it. Nonstop.
Do you actually get emails
all the time? And you know what's crazy?
Okay.
I fucking have one. Idiots.
Yeah, I do too, but I never get emails about that.
I get emails about the new one, but the thing is,
if I get any GameStop emails, they have to be going to a junk folder.
No, I got some other fucking dumb one today that I ignored because I was just like, leave me the fuck alone. But that was the Game Informer one. You want to re-up for Game Informer separately? No, don't ever email me about this again. Idiots. No, but that's the DL thing, it's like he wants you to do the work. He wants you to do the work his way, and he's going to take all the credit. You think if you average 2 cards a store, you'd get anything other than a quick shout out in a fucking email? No. But do you think he'd go to his boss and be like, "Look at what I did. My stores all get you a day. Look at me, 100%. Daddy. Please be proud of me, Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Am I your new favorite kid, Daddy?" And then he lowers his head to his boss to get his little pat on the head. Ugh.
Not the best, but yeah, I'm not surprised. No. I'm sure, and I would say the other thing I'll say is take solace in the fact that you're probably not the only district where that is happening.
Oh, there's a district where it's worse. I guarantee it.
Yeah. So maybe there's probably a district where the day is 3.
Doesn't make it any better.
Doesn't make it any better, but I'm saying, yeah,
someone else is getting shit on worse
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Next email we have comes from Lee from Woodsboro, Maryland. Hey guys, I know you've touched on it in the past, but I'm curious what your opinions are on the latest scuttle in Gamergate 2.0. The Kotaku writer reaching out to that YouTuber's wife really seemed unprofessional and inappropriate, and it felt convenient that right after that happened, she suddenly was doxxed. While I don't condone the practice of doxing someone, and no one should, it really did seem like she egged the internet on. Do you know? So here's my first question to you. Are you up to date on what the fuck has been going on?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
Exhausted.
So for those that do not know,
yeah, do it quick.
There is a YouTuber, which I've probably seen him in something before, named Smash JT.
He's kind of shitty, to be fair.
A little bit, but like
shitty.
I will give him a little bit of credit that he at least calls out the shittiness of Kotaku.
He does, but he's also poking the bear. Like he
poked the bear hard. Like he poked the bear hard by starting a petition to quote unquote end Kotaku. That's the hashtag he's using. And you had to know that when you do something at that level and you're poking this specific bear,
gonna come back.
Something bad's going to happen. With that being said, that lady did cross an extreme line, because there is no way ever should this person be reaching out to that person's wife of all people over something so incredibly stupid as
not in a private message over Facebook.
The fact that she keeps saying it was a polite message. I've seen the message because the man shared it, and he has no reason to lie on what the message says. It's anything but polite. But obviously after this happened, she ended up getting doxxed. She was off Twitter for like a week. I think she just retweeted some stuff, but that was it. It was a nice week of silence, honestly. But she's back. She's back, and I'll say 10 times worse on the internet. Still doing this. I don't know if you saw the latest today, but to get back at her, someone has bought, I want to say it's her sister's website domain.
Oh my God.
Bought it from her and is now using it as a website to post all of her deleted tweets.
Oh, that's
when she tweets people, and then because that's the big thing that she does is she will tweet at somebody and either delete it or she'll put them on block so they cannot respond. Because that's the childish thing to do. That's the tactic, especially you work at Kotaku. They're using this website to post all of that. And like, I think one of the pages on the website is like the unprofessionalism of this person. Like it's seen as nothing more to me. I look at it and go, that's a very clever and funny joke at this point. But of course she's taking it to the level that it is harassment.
Well,
but it is in a little bit of sense. But again, this is a person who also went on Twitter, put herself in front of took a picture of herself in front of a green screen and said, "Hey, do whatever you want to me. I don't care." And then when somebody said, "Okay," and put her in virtual reality getting shot, she got upset by that.
That is.
But she egged it on. She egged it on though. She egged it on though. But and the best part, I think, the funniest thing about the green screen thing is nobody uses that picture. Like, if you ever look at any of these thumbnails on YouTube of the videos about her, nobody ever uses that specific picture. That's what's crazy to me. But yeah, the problem is she has egged it on, and then the minute she egged it on, then she calls harassment every time, goes underground. The doxing thing, I don't condone that. Nobody condones that.
No,
that's not acceptable. That's too far. Just as it is unacceptable to contact someone's wife about something like this, it is unacceptable to dox someone on the internet.
That is far where it's very unsafe. Like anything can happen at that point. It's terrible.
At this point, when does Gamergate 2 end?
It doesn't.
You think it just keeps going?
We're not at 2.0 anymore, but this is like 2.1. Like it's leveling up. The correct move from her at this point is to do nothing.
The correct move for her to do is to just
do nothing. You want to keep writing your Kotaku articles? Go ahead. Sure. That is the place you work for, and it's not up to you who reads and who doesn't. That's their choice to read it and get pissed off. If I see a Kotaku article with a headline I think is dumb, I skip it. Which means I skip 95% of Kotaku articles.
It's usually a joke between us because we usually laugh about it. The headlines are hilarious.
Every so often we go Kotaku shit article of the week and text each other, whatever.
There's so many of them. Yeah.
But you want to keep writing your Kotaku articles and having discussions with Kotaku fans in the comments on those, go for it. You want to have discussions?
That's what that's there for.
Yes, you want to have discussions with your fans on Twitter who are like, I liked your article and stuff. Go for it. Stop addressing the instigators. Like these people, now that they know that they can, they are going to do this to you on purpose to get this response, to make this website, to do all this other stuff. And every time you tweet back, you keep the cycle going.
We've also said in the past, and we'll probably continue to say, like, the internet is a terrible fucking place.
It's awful.
You don't challenge the void that is the internet. So
and you don't
without expecting it's going to be
and
awful.
The thing is you don't put shit out there unless you can't take it back. If you can't handle getting back what you put out there, then you don't deserve to be posting this shit online. Do you know what I do for fun on? I'm a huge Cubs fan. It's pretty obvious. I talk about it a lot. I shit post about the Cubs constantly. But the thing is like, isn't
that all you use Twitter for?
I only use Twitter to shit post on the Cubs. There's also like another thing I go to where I shit post on the Cubs. But it's a community of people who like shit on each other back and forth about this stuff. And I can take a fucking joke.
So you're telling me it's like the Final Fantasy shit posting Facebook?
It's a little different than that. Because my Cubs shit posts are maintained to true stats about the Cubs that fans don't want to accept. Like,
fair enough.
Hey, the Cubs suck statistically. Here's why. Well, that's because of so and so, and then I give it back. But like, I can take it, but I don't go out there and like dox these people. Oh man, this guy doesn't agree with my Cubs hot take.
Yeah.
Let me go text.
Well, this guy started a petition to take down. Yeah.
Did you know your husband's favorite player is so and so, and he sucks? Like, no.
Ridiculous.
I don't kill him in VR.
Wow.
Like,
do you think with that being said, do you think because if this person continues to keep antagonizing, do you think that the Geo Media, do you think they'll ever step in and do anything about it?
Hell
or maybe
no.
And you don't think Kotaku, we have to be getting close to the end of it. And that's the reason I maintain that it's continuing is because I think it's on that level. They're going, okay, it's bringing traffic.
Our name's out there more than it ever was before. They don't care what it comes up at. Like, Kotaku is just going to be gone one day because it's gone one day. It's not going to be because of this.
That's just going to be one day we wake up and then the internet will celebrate.
I go get my fireworks and I start lighting them up.
There you go. Now we're talking. Next email we have comes from Jack from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Hi, gents. Love the podcast and love that you guys have gone to video. I'm curious if you guys have ever done any game room tours or game collection tours, or have you considered doing one? I know on the Marble Gallery channel, Kyle has done very specific collection videos, but never a full-blown set-up tour. Any of you guys considering doing it in the future? My setup is such a shit show right now. I don't have a particular what I would call a game room right now. I have like various parts of my house where there are parts of my collection is what I would say. Yeah. At some point, like my girlfriend and I are working on, we will redo our basement, and that is probably going to be what becomes the game room. Although latest conversations have now been talking about making it a movie theater. So I don't know, but there will be a game component to that.
Movie rental store. That's the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to have a movie theater to play those in, right?
Well, you don't need a bedroom. Get rid of that.
It could be a game room. Well, there's the basement. My basement's not that big. Let's first of all, let's put that out there.
Cool underground movie rental place. VHS tapes.
There you go.
I would be down for doing one because as of right now, I still have my game room up. I'm currently moving, but you
should get one done now.
Yeah, have a problem though.
Yeah, you should do it before.
So just FYI, I have a YouTube channel. I don't have anywhere traction like Kyle does.
My traction's not that good either.
If you guys want to follow me, I can actually probably do one in the next.
You should do one you should do one now before you move, and then
one after. Yeah,
set up at a new place after you move.
I mean, I will say I'm still going to do my 360 collection video because I promised that, and I'm very close to being able to do that now, thankfully. But even then, I don't have everything really confined into one area, so a game room tour probably wouldn't be as exciting as I think some people would think it would be. Be a lot of wires and people going, why is that set up that way? Yeah, I don't know either, man.
Yeah.
Be my response. I don't know either, man.
Yeah, well, if you want to give me a follow and I'll get it done, it's at on YouTube at OMD Classic. And
there you go.
I'll post one, and then that way we can show it off.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a game room. Kyle has seen it. It is it's a dumpster fire right now. There's so much stuff in boxes. Like when we talk about like game collections and stuff, like Kyle, you've got a pretty big one. Matt, I don't know where yours is at because you cycle through stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Like I have, just according to Game Eye, and this is not correct, I have 2,400 physical games. And
okay.
So I have a lot.
I'm at like 900.
Right. But I'm also, then there's also like, I have every Amiibo figure released. And I have a lot of Skylanders, Infinity, Lego.
You have one whole bookcase that's just all game guides.
Yeah, I have more strategy guides.
I'm thinking of that closet you have that has all the marketing stuff that you have, or multiple kiosk TVs.
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
I have a lot of stuff, and it's gone through different forms over the years of like being set up and not being set up and taken down, and then. Have my last house. It was in the basement, and then the basement flooded, but luckily it didn't get high enough to get to any games or anything like that. And so it's just
didn't you just lose like some of the marketing stuff?
I lost a couple marketing things. That's about all I lost. Which was
you got a rad Dead Rising poster. I know that.
That's in my Dead or Alive 4 stand-up box, which has never been set up either.
There you go.
So yeah, like that's I have fantastic. A lot of stuff. I would love to get it set up. My problem is like I have all these ideas on like what I want to do, and then I change that 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
I'm like, I want to do something else. It's difficult for me to decide.
You're also one of the few people. I mean, I don't know anybody else that has a Switch Interactive. So
yeah, it's
a rare thing to have because it's a current system.
Yes, and it's over the years. I think I've talked about it before. Like I could have had a 360 one and a PS3 one. And a Wii U one and and none of them were interesting to me. I just didn't care. Remember the Xbox One was so fucking huge, and it was like, I don't want to take
one
this
was
out
also
of here. It wasn't
shitty,
the best.
Yeah.
The Switch one was like easily the best one we ever had, and it was only in our store for 8 months by the time I took it.
Well, that's the thing too. You got to think about by taking one of those kiosks. Usually, you're taking those at the end of its life, so like that TV is going to be pretty shot because it's been on 24/7 for 6 years or whatever. You got to switch interactive within the first. It wasn't even a year old.
Not even a full year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's just like I have, and I'm always constantly like picking up one game here, one game there, and then like I have Super Nintendo games in like 6 different places. The problem with my game room is it's also like my Lego storage. I have a shitload of Lego.
And that's the other thing too. Like my cartridge games, like my Super Nintendo, I don't have those unpacked. Those haven't been unpacked since I moved.
Right. That's the worst part.
I just have like a few random.
All my
ones.
my PS2, most of my PS2 and Xbox are in giant rubber containers. I've got a box full of system selectors, cords, multiple N64s of different colors, different NESs. Like I have a box of Super Famicom games. Yeah. It's just a shit show, and I don't know how to set it up. but I would really, really like to. It's coming up with. I gotta, you know how much money I gotta spend on shelves to get this shit set up. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
IKEA stuff is cheap, but it ain't that cheap.
It's cheap, but it ain't that cheap, and not all of it lasts very well either. So some of it's built well, some of
we'll see. Maybe I make that a summer project, and if I'll make a promise that if I do get it in that room like cleared out and I start setting it up, maybe I can do it like as a here's what I got done so far, here's this stuff, here's that stuff, and maybe I'll turn it into something. Maybe this will give me motivation to actually do it, because I would love to be able to just go sit and hang out in that room and play shit on the CRT, because I have a CRT waiting.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure don't you have two?
I have a really nice, like big Sony CRT, and then I have the other thing I want to hook up in there is that the PlayStation 3D monitor. Remember we had that the demo one, and we're taking that down, and the one guy was like, "I'm taking it." I said, "Fuck you, I'm taking it." I do have a mount for it. It's ready to go, but. I would love to hook that up and put my PS3 in there and play my PS3 on my PS3 monitor.
TV. Well, let's kick it over to the last emails we got, which I put out a call last week in our achievement trophy discussion from that one email, and we got a couple responses that were pretty good on achievements and trophies that maybe broke you. First one we have comes from Brendan from Manhattan, New York. Howdy, guys. Love the conversation about achievements on the last episode of the podcast. I can tell you exactly the game that broke me on being an achievement hunter. Put this in all caps. Infinite Undiscovery on the 360. Fuck this game. Spent so much time into it and just could never get the last few achievements in the game.
That is a game I had not thought about in probably...
I have no context because while I do own it, I never played it.
15 years. So that game came out around the same time as Lost Odyssey, Last Remnant, and I'm pretty sure Star Ocean. I think all four of those were within like a 1 year time period. So it's just kind of like the weird time for like RPGs.
G60 got a lot of RPGs,
As someone who's played that game, probably... I think I maybe got halfway through it. I fully agree. Fuck the achievements in that game.
Is it a good game?
Not really.
Like, is it a decent RPG?
Really. Okay. The achievements in that game take planning. You have to know that you have to know them ahead of time before you do it, because there's no way to go back and do it. I don't remember specifically, but I remember it had something to do with like barrels and like blowing up some barrels or some shit. And I just thought like, this game is just, it was annoying. It wasn't very good. Like, it was complicated. I still own it. It's probably over there. Man, like, I cannot believe he said that, because I immediately was like, oh my God, I remember that game being terrible. And it made me think of another game that was just as bad for achievements that was a 360 RPG. Can you guess what it was?
Did you already say it?
No. Big time 360 RPG.
Big time. Eternal Sonata?
No, that was 360 only.
360
Eternal Sonata.
Well, yeah, that did come out.
Eternal Sonata and Enchanted Arms are both on PS3.
I was going to say, Enchanted Arms is 360 only. I don't know.
Dragon.
Oh, yeah. Blue Dragon. I've sat on trying that, and that's one of the reasons. Even though I don't care anymore, that's one of the reasons I'm like, oh, man, but there's a lot of trash.
That is a pretty decent RPG for what it is, but achievements in that game,
trash.
Off.
Next we have Craig from Austin, Texas. Hi, 572 crew. Man, I loved hearing about achievements last episode. I've been on an off and on avid achievement / trophy hunter since the systems were introduced on the consoles. The game that really broke me though is Sekiro. I love the Souls games. I've gotten all the achievements, trophies in these games across multiple platforms, but Sekiro is just god awful. Some of the bosses in that game are just downright unfair. After that game, I stopped giving a fuck as much. I still 100% games that I truly get into, though. I can attest a little bit to that. I also didn't get into Sekiro, but I can tell you there is one really fucking awful boss in that game that's on a horse.
Just one?
A dude on a horse.
One boss?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get very far in that game to be fair. I don't know. I couldn't get into that one. Like, as someone who loves all those Souls games,
I think that was the one that some people play it and just saw some of those boss fights and just went, "This is unbelievable." Like, I don't.
No. It's a giant snake in that game. Oof. Yeah. No. Connor from Cincinnati, Ohio. Howdy 572. I love the conversation you guys are having about what games broke you on achievements. I'm glad one of you said it, but Star Ocean: The Last Hope was my 360 game that broke me. It's nearly impossible and luck-based, which is just utter bullshit.
Yep. Complete nightmare.
Somebody else out there.
Battle trophies.
Somebody else out there that agrees with that.
Battle trophy.
Last one we have comes from Leslie from Burlington, Wisconsin. Howdy, crew. Love the discussion on achievement hunting. Record of Argus War is the game that broke me. So many bullshit grinding achievements.
Hey, that's weird. That's another 360 RPG.
Yeah, it is. I like how it's a 360 RPGs.
Remember,
yeah.
we talked about it when we talked about this last time, where like achievements at some point just kind of went off the rails, and there was no regulation for what really could be an achievement or not. And some of it would be the dumbest shit possible in a game that you couldn't go back and try it again if you missed it and all that other stuff. And it's just like,
do you remember when the 360 first came out, they actually didn't have the regulation that you had to have 1,000?
Yeah, like a couple games.
And
like
Condemned. Yeah, Condemned only went to 970.
I think there was another.
There's like one other game.
Did it, I want to say.
Yeah, there's one other game. It was maybe a FIFA game or something.
Something did
like
it
early on, before they had that regulation. But yeah, and Condemn's the one I always think of because it's such a weird number.
Then it became like it had to have 1,000. Then DLCs could add 250. Each DLC could add 250.
I liked that up until the point they just broke it. What broke it was when we got to the Xbox One, and then they did those like timed, but they didn't have numbers. They didn't have a number attached to it, but it was like, hey, in this time frame, you could get this achievement, but once it's gone, it's gone forever.
What game really broke it though? Master Chief Collection fucking exploded it.
Master Chief Collection. Well, they also added multiple games to it, but.
Isn't it like,
there are rare times where like I'll play an online match and look at someone's profile and they have everything in that game, and I'm like, I don't know, man.
Like
I don't know, man.
Everything in every game multiple times.
I will say pretty much yearly, me and Ross will play through Halo 1 through 4 in that collection. And Halo 2 is the only one we will not play on Legendary because it is just bullshit.
That game gets unmanageable towards the end.
And the funny thing is, the one time we did get through it, obviously years later, just in this collection, we went back and looked at the hours spent, and it was like upwards of 20 hours. And then we got to Halo 3 and did that in 6. Legendary. So it's just like, and I kept saying the entire time because we were bitching about like Jackal snipers and stuff. I'm like, just wait till we get to Halo 3, man.
Here, let me read you some quick stats on the Master Chief Collection from True Achievements. Okay. That game has 700 trophies for 7,000 gamer score.
Yep.
And the estimated time to completion is anywhere between 621 and 952 hours. Wow.
That's ridiculous.
So True Achievement score is 25,447 off of 7.
The other thing about it too is like there are multiplayer achievements, and some of them are ridiculous. There is the Lasso playlist, which is ridiculous. So for me, because I wanted to look it up, I have 3,520 out of 7,000 in that game. I'm halfway there, man. And for the record, I have played 7 days, 10 hours, and 53 minutes.
Well, the minimum time is what, 24, 48. It's like 20. It's like 30 days, 25 days.
So yeah, a little bit.
You got.
Oh my god.
God, that game is ridiculous, and that's the other thing. Like, if you're waiting for that to come to PlayStation,
imagine the trophy list for that motherfucker. You know what's worst? Is that game is because it's so broken, it might not even get a platinum. Because remember, Tomb Raider for PS5, the collection has no platinum.
I see it do one of two things: either it has no platinum at all, or they do the weird thing where they separate each trophy list.
Well, that's what the Tomb Raider thing did.
Here's Halo 2. Okay. Yeah, but didn't it have a platinum on PS4?
Yes,
but not
because
PS5.
Of the way that the trophy lists work. They don't work that way. Yeah.
So weird. But I mean, obviously, I enjoyed reading those. So you can send all your emails, send more of those in to podcast572 at gmail.com.
If it's not an achievement or like a trophy, let's say you played a Nintendo game that broke you for whatever reason. I want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Did you play Twilight Princess for more than 30 minutes? That probably broke you.
With a Wii controller.
With a Wii controller.
Yeah. With the waggle. It probably it broke me.
I remember doing that and just going, I don't want to do this at all.
Yeah. I waited to get a Wii at launch.
Me too.
Overnight. And then remember getting
I could get it for
back,
GameCube. Now
sitting down and playing it. Yeah. And just playing it for like a half hour and being like, I'm not enjoying this.
No, I don't want to do this at all.
Like, I don't want to play this game this way. No. And then just playing more bowling.
Yep. Yeah, and then just playing sports.
Like, I'm like, this Wii Sports game is pretty cool, though. So, but yeah, send all that into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.